Vice Mayor Desilme.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much. We're going to have invocation with
My priest.
Monsignor Chanel Gentil from St. James Catholic Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Officer Tamara Numa from the North Miami Police Department.
Yeah,
First of all, the invocation.
Righteous and merciful God, we call upon you now in the knowledge that you will listen and answer to our prayers, our supplications, and our convocation today. We ask that you be here with us so that we may feel your presence among us, to guide us and to direct our every thought, words, and action. We ask you to bless this meeting and those who are part of it, most especially your mayor and the councilmen and women who continue to feel the call to serve you and to honor you by the way that they do what they do without reproach. We ask that you guide them and counsel every one of our hearts and minds so that, knowing that in the forefront of all minds, the coronavirus that is the impending concern of every man and woman around, we ask that you continue to enlighten the minds of the medical field, the people, and along with scientists, that you may show them, O Lord, in your wisdom what they don't know, so that they may be swift in doing what is necessary for the good of all. We ask that you be with them and watch over those who are affected, so that your healing power and grace may accompany them and they find the necessity that they need in order to be well. And knowing that you will all see to it that we are well as well, as we gather here today, we implore your mercy upon us to continue to direct our every word, thoughts, and action, so that through you, they may find completion in the deliberation, decision, discussions, sharings, and ultimately in the desire that everything that is decided through this meeting may be according to your holy will and direction, and continue to help us to build your kingdom right here in the city of North Miami. We ask this in your holy name, for we know you are good, for we know you are faithful, for you know and we know that you are a God of love, a love that endures forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
If everyone can place their right hand over their heart and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
And now we're going downstairs for a special presentation.
Make sure you don't hug nobody when you come to shake hands.
Good evening again, and welcome to our regular council meeting. I see so many pink and so many beautiful people in the room. You know, it's because it's Women History Month, and we just at our CRA, the Community Development Agency, we just hire a women, and Rasha Kamo as the Permanent Executive Director for the CRA, and we give her the salary that she asked for, because in the city of North Miami, especially during Women History Month, we don't want people to go out there and say the previous CRA director was a man. He was getting $250,000, 215, and we have a new one, and she accept a lower salary. She do understand that the situation of the city, that was a proposal, and we agree with it. And congratulations to Rasha Camo, and we are moving forward with Women History Month, and tonight we are going to honor 4 trailblazers in the community, for women who've been doing great work and help the city moving forward. And I'm happy to call the names since they've been an honorary at Soirée en Rose. And you know, for the past 5-6 years, we've been having every year Soirée en Rose. And let me call Karen De Leon. Where's Karen? She's the Keystone Homeowners Association and another event, and 2 years ago she was the honorary at Soirée en Rose for Women Who Inspired. And the second person is Esther Blaine. Oh. Can you come forward, please? The third one is Judy Brown. It's all honorees at our Soirée en Rose, and we have another one, Rose Michelle Grandpierre. And for the presentation, I'm going to call Councilwoman Marie-Estimée Irvin and Councilwoman Carol Keys.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to honor this person, which is no stranger to a lot of you, especially if you like parks, if you go on the bike rides. And on top of that, she is a resident of District 3, so I'm so happy to present today. So Rose Michelle Grandpierre. Whereas Rose Michelle Grandpierre is a public servant who graduated from Florida International University. For over 12 years, Rose Michelle has worked for Miami-Dade County Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Department. And whereas in her current position with Miami-Dade County Parks, she informs the residents' benefits of using the parks to shape their mind, body, and soul. Her focus is to engage anyone she meets and to make a difference in each life through education and awareness. And whereas Rose Michelle lets no border stop her from learning and acquiring new skills, she does allow the lack of similarity from encouraging her to make new friends. She puts all that she has learned to serve her community. She serves on several boards and organizations, including her faith-based and family and friends and library. She serves at Holy Family, which I have a pleasure of visiting all the time. Whereas prior to joining Miami-Dade County Parks team, Ms. Grandpierre filled multiple positions, such as the financial specialist at the United States Embassy and the United States Agency for International Development in Haiti for 17 years. For 5 years, she has a radio show. She had a radio show. Rose Michelle continues to put her transferable skills into the practice of every diverse community she has a chance to embrace. So now, therefore, in consideration of the foregoing, I and the entire council would like to proclaim that March 10th, 2020 is Rose Michelle Grandpierre Day.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here tonight to recognize and celebrate contributions of 3 women in our community. I've chose 3 women interesting. They come from districts 1, 2, and 4, and then we have Rose in 3. And these 3 women, I have worked in our city. We have been active, participated in city events, the government, for more than a dozen years. So I'm very happy to be able to have the opportunity to honor these women. The first one, Karen DeLeon, who could not be here this evening, has served on the North Miami Parks and Recreation Board for many years, was the chair. She's the current president of the Keystone Point Homeowners Association. She was served as secretary for years and years and has now been the president for about the past 4 years. She's the director of development for the Education Fund, which supports all 350,000 students in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And as a licensed mental health counselor and great believer in the power of one individual, any individual, to make a difference. So I'm very happy to give this award. I know Karen had another event, another civic event to go to this evening, so I will be delivering this to her. The second lady who I've worked with in this city for probably more than 20 years, we're honoring this evening, is Esther Blinn. Since 1975, when Esther moved to the city of North Miami, she's been involved in civic and community activities, including those focused on neighborhood improvements and facelifts, as well as programs for at-risk populations, including at-risk children and families and the elderly. Esther currently serves as on the board of several community groups, including past president of North Dade Bar Association, the Sans Souci Gated Homeowners Association, and also she serves with me on the North Miami Senior Citizens Foundation as a director. Presently, Esther has been an advocate for establishing or improving playgrounds and parks throughout through the National Playful Cities USA and the America in Bloom programs in which North Miami has participated. So this evening we are going to give this proclamation to Esther Blinn. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I've read a lot of the interim. But in consideration of the foregoing, I, Carol Keyes, Councilwoman District 2 of the City of North Miami, on behalf of the Mayor and City Council and residents, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 10th to be Esther T. Blinn Day. And last but not least, I'd like to honor a longtime friend and activist, Judy Brown from District 4. Judy currently serves as the president of the Sunkist Grove Homeowners Association and has for many years. She served as the secretary of the Miami-Dade Albany State University Alumni Association. She served on the North Miami Parks and Recreation Board. She is a strong advocate for the Library Board, where she has served over 20 years. She serves with me as a director on the North Miami Foundation for Senior Citizens. She works with the Fireworks Committee alongside with the North Miami Police Department. Ms. Brown believes it is our duty to give back and make North Miami a city where the quality of life is enjoyed by each of these residents, which she certainly does. And now, therefore, in consideration of the foregoing, I, Carol F. Keyes, Councilwoman in District 2 of the City of North Miami, on behalf of the Mayor and City Council and residents, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 10th to be Judy Brown Day. And so thank you for taking the time to acknowledge these terrific ladies. Thank you.
I got it. So,
Where's the name? Where's the name? Where's the We are moving forward with our council meeting. Again, thank you for coming. And I see some new faces. Look at, do we have students here? Do you have people who've been here, who's here for the first time? No? You from the city of North Miami? Thank you, and thank you for coming. And I hope you're here every second and every fourth Tuesday of the month. This is when we have our council meeting. And we have two young, are you from any schools around here? Or do you work for the city? FIU? Okay. Oh, you're a journalist from FIU. Thank you for coming, and welcome to the city of North Miami. Again, thank you, everyone. And, you know, besides Super Tuesday 2, and all we are talking on TV, it's coronavirus. And, you know, what the state is doing, it's working with the county, and the county is working with the municipalities so we can get one information out there. Because as politicians, we don't want to be the one providing information to the public, and we're not expert on information, and each of us can give the information we want, and based on our political move. That's mean in order to update the residents of North Miami and as the county, Miami-Dade County, the Department of Health, to come here and provide us with an update and tell us exactly where we are and what the municipality should do, and as a resident, what is our responsibility, and ask them to call to Mayor Jimenez, and they're here tonight with us. And thank you for coming. Please come forward and give us an update about the coronavirus. Is the Department of Health from Miami-Dade County.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, perfect. So my name is Jenna. I'm an epidemiologist with the Florida Department of Health in Miami-Dade County, and this is my colleague Stephanie, and she's also an epidemiologist.
Okay.
Before we start, I'd like to point out how many hand sanitizer dispensers you guys have, and it's fantastic. It fills my little public health heart. Okay, so starting out, we're just
Can you present the other member? I see some other people from the health department
yes,
in
yes,
the
yes,
room.
of course.
Yeah.
Here, Stephanie, you go ahead.
So we have our health officer for the county, Dr. Yesenia Villalta. Our director for tuberculosis and epidemiology, disease control and immunization services, Dr. Reynald Jean. And our director of communications, Olga Connor.
And the chief of staff for Commissioner Moniz team, we present, and from District 2. Elizabeth Owen. Thank you for coming. That's been, yes.
Awesome. And you guys can see the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we just wanted to give you guys a little history about the new coronavirus outbreak. So in the late 2019, some people in Wuhan, Hubei province, China, were experiencing some respiratory illnesses after they had visited a seafood and live animal market. The public health authorities there have recognized that it was a new coronavirus, which then spread from the market to people. But what we do know about other viruses that are similar are that they do first spread from animals to people. And then right now, it is continuing to spread across the country of China, all over the world, as everyone's known, and even to the US. Okay, so these are our current numbers as of 4:30 this afternoon. We would just like to mention that since public labs are testing for COVID-19, they are coming out publicly with numbers, with sometimes the CDC and the WHO might not have time to update their websites. So sometimes the best media or the best sources are the media. So worldwide, right now, there is over 110,000 confirmed cases and over 400,262 deaths. And this was updated on, did I mess up?
4,000. You said 400.
I'm sorry, 4,262. My apologies. And then this was updated on the Johns Hopkins GIS map, which is available to everybody. So in U.S. right now, there are 779 positive cases in 36 states, including D.C. And additionally, there are 70 positive repatriated cases. 46 of them come from the cruise ship Diamond Princess. 21 of them come from cases from the cruise Grand Princess, and then 3 cases are from people that were returning back from Wuhan, China. In Florida, as of about 1 o'clock today, there are 20 positive cases. 14 of them are residents, 5 are repatriated, and then 1 is a non-Florida resident, and there's 2 deaths. I forgot to mention there are 27 deaths in the U.S. as of today. So some updates. In late February 2020, the CDC reported community-based transmission of this virus in California and Washington. March 1st, the Florida Department of Health reported Florida's first 2 cases of COVID-19 in Hillsborough and Manatee County residents. As a result, the governor issued the first executive order 2051 directing a public health emergency and establishing Florida's response protocol for COVID-19. Following that, the state surgeon general issued a declaration of a public health emergency for the state of Florida. And then yesterday, the governor issued Executive Order 2052, which is declaring a state of emergency for COVID-19. So some transmission and symptoms. So COVID-19 most often spreads from person to person. It's spread through respiratory droplets from an infected person who coughs or sneezes. And it's spread a lot among close contacts. So if you're within like your household, things like that, when you're coming into like daily close contact with people. So what we recommend is to stay 6 feet away from people that have respiratory illnesses. So what are the symptoms? Symptoms can appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. These include fever, cough, and difficulty breathing. So prevention, what can we do to prevent ourselves from getting COVID-19? Prevention infection, you can prevent this infection by following routine respiratory disease prevention measures. This includes washing your hands for at least 20 seconds. You can sing the happy birthday song or the ABC if you don't want to count out 20 seconds. If water and soap is not available, you can use hand sanitizer. We do recommend that you use hand sanitizer with over 60% alcohol, and that is on the back of the hand sanitizer on the label. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, mouth, and avoid contact with sick people. Once again, if they're sick, just stay 6 feet away from them. And then stay home when you're sick, which is something that's very, very important. You can't spread diseases if you're not around people. So people at risk can have symptoms of fever, cough, difficulty breathing, need to be taking these steps. So once again, what we would want you to do if you are having these symptoms is to call your health provider and tell them if you have any travel history and your exposure and if you have any symptoms. And they will take the next steps. You need to be avoiding contact with others. Like I said before, just stay at home if you don't know if you're sick or not. Do not travel while you're sick. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Once again, washing your hands is one of the biggest ways to prevent any kind of illness. And then if you do not have symptoms, we are not asking people to wear masks. Masks only need to be worn if you have symptoms, and they need to follow the right protocols on how to wear them, remove them, and dispose of them. Okay, so treatment and testing. Stephanie will go ahead and give this.
So as the slide says, there is no specific treatment for COVID-19 at this time. What the CDC recommends...
Can you say your full name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Stephanie Calle. And as I mentioned, there is no specific treatment for COVID-19 at this time. And what the CDC recommends is that people who think they may have been exposed to the virus should call their county health department immediately and self-isolate. Testing is only available through public health currently. Right now, the CDC developed a test for COVID-19, and the DOH, the Department of Health, Bureau of Public Health Laboratories, are testing with that test kit. Some commercial laboratories have begun to test for COVID-19, but again, that's we're in the starting phase of that. So still, the county health department has to be involved in testing and follow-up of persons under investigation. So suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19 are asked to take the following precautions. Immediately isolate at home or at the healthcare facility that they're being treated at. Do not participate in public activities such as work or school or other large gatherings. Only travel by ambulance or private car and avoid public transportation. Always wear a mask when around other people or pets at home. And always cover your coughs and sneezes and clean your hands often. Again, these are part of the precautions that Jenna was mentioning. Some travel advisories. Regarding COVID-19, it is recommended that older adults and those who have chronic medical conditions consider postponing travel to places with sustained community spread of COVID-19. General recommendations for personal hygiene, cough etiquette, and social distancing, or keeping at least 6 feet away from individuals that are exhibiting respiratory symptoms, such as the ones we mentioned, cough, fever, shortness of breath, is recommended. For level 3 travelers, the Department of Health in Florida recommends that they self-isolate for 14 days and practice social distancing upon their return to the United States. For individuals that have traveled to level 2 regions and cruises, the Department of Health in Florida recommends that travelers should monitor their symptoms and their health and limit interactions with others for the 14 days after returning to the United States. And for individuals that were that traveled on the Nile cruise, what is recommended is that all individuals on the Nile River in the cruise on the Nile River in Egypt that occurred in February of 2020, that they self-isolate for 14 days following their date of return to the United States. So currently, the countries with sustained community or widespread transmission as of March 2nd are China, Iran, South Korea, Italy, and Japan. So for international travel, international travel in contact with a confirmed case of COVID-19 are risk factors for individuals or potential risk factors for exposure. So people who have traveled internationally in the last 14 days, especially to the identified areas, are at increased risk for having been exposed. People who have had close contact with somebody that is known to have COVID-19 are also at higher risk. And the risk may change over time, but we're following, again, the CDC's guidance and our State Department's Department of Health's guidance as well. So those are changing, and as those changes are made, we make them available to the community and to the healthcare providers in our community. So this is an example of a health alert that was handed out to travelers at the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. Since initially the majority of the cases were coming from China, travelers that were returning from trips to China were being handed this postcard, which gave them information on what the situation was regarding the outbreak and what they should do upon their return, which is, again, monitor their symptoms for 14 days after leaving China, and then what to do as far as if they did develop symptoms within that 14-day period, that they should contact a healthcare provider and their local county health department to inform them and for guidance. And again, to how to prevent the spread, the potential spread to those around them. So as far as public health monitoring, what are we doing at the local level? So the Department of Health is monitoring those possibly exposed to the virus. Personnel at the agencies in the 67 county health departments across Florida and at the central office in Tallahassee, we're all working together to protect Floridians from emerging diseases. So the Department of Health receives information from the CDC on U.S. citizens, residents, families of those returning from impacted areas. And the county health departments work with travelers to restrict their movement, monitor for illness, isolate persons with symptoms, and ensure healthcare providers use proper infection control techniques. So the little bit more about what that process entails. For people who have been, who may have been exposed but do not have symptoms, again, we ask them to monitor their symptoms for 14 days, which means, and also to self-isolate during that 14-day period, which means that they should stay home as much as possible, avoid travel on publicly used vehicles, avoid gatherings with groups of people, and going out in public. They should also stay home from work, school, and other public places. And then to also follow provided education on prevention of the virus, of the spread of the virus. So currently, the immediate risk to Americans still remains low. More cases are expected to be identified in the U.S. in the coming days. Again, and this is due to the increased ability of our laboratories to test for the virus. So more cases will be identified that way. But still, there's currently limited person-to-person spread in the communities. But again, as the situation changes, and we've been seeing that it changes daily, hourly almost, we will make that information available to our community. But in the meantime, what everybody can do now is that they can prevent the spread of COVID-19 by practicing those techniques that Jenna mentioned earlier, which are again can be applied to many other illnesses, the prevention of other illnesses, and those are again perform frequent hand hygiene, maintain social distancing if you are experiencing symptoms, disinfect surfaces frequently, and then practice cough etiquette and sneeze etiquette, which is again to cover your coughs with a napkin, and then throw that napkin away, wash your hands right after, or if you don't have a napkin, you can use your elbow to cover again any respiratory droplets that may be emitted when you cough or sneeze. So some helpful websites that we've been using and the community can use as well is the CDC, or sorry, our Department of Health in Florida's website. We're updating that as more information becomes available. And you can search that if you don't have to know the specific website. All you have to do is in a search engine type in FDOH, so Florida Department of Health, COVID-19, and that should be the first, as you can see in the slide, that should be the first option that pops up. And then on the right-hand side, you could see the breakdown. The Department of Health in Florida updates the numbers of the individuals that have been identified as positive, those that are being monitored, those that are have tested negative, how many are pending results, all of that.
Oh, wow.
And then this one's the CDC's, and again, you can do CDC COVID-19 in a search engine, and that should bring up this page. And then, okay, so the middle little picture is a link or a little snapshot of what the website of a section that the website has, and that little box, the yellow box, is what you could click on, and it'll bring up more resources for healthcare providers, for community members, for business owners. There's a plethora of resources that can be used, and we encourage the community to use it. So we also didn't want the community, to forget that we're in the middle of the influenza season. We don't want to forget about that. COVID-19 is a respiratory illness, and so is influenza and many other illnesses as well. But just to kind of bring that back from the back burner. So influenza is a contagious respiratory illness caused by flu viruses that can cause mild to severe illness and at times can lead to death. And the symptoms include, as you'll see, similar to COVID-19, fever, cough, sore throat, muscle or body aches, headache, and fatigue. That's why it's another reason why we encourage individuals that suspect that they may be have been exposed, or they think that may be infected, to seek medical attention, because it can be something else as well. And we want to rule those illnesses out as well. So what to do to prevent and treat the flu? The best way to prevent the flu is to get a flu vaccine each fall. It reduces the risk of flu illness, hospitalization, and death, and it is especially important for children and adults over the ages of 65, pregnant women as well, and for people with underlying medical conditions. If you do become ill with the flu, the good news is that there is, if you do become ill with the flu, you should cover your cough and your sneezes, stay home from work, school, and other large gatherings, again, to prevent the transmission of the illness in the community. But there are antiviral medications that healthcare providers can prescribe to help you fight a flu infection. And then I wanted to give a quick summary of our current influenza-like illness activity in our county. The pink line that's incomplete is the one that's showing the current season. So we're in the 2019-2020 season. And then every week we plot a percentage of emergency department visits that are due to influenza-like illness. So not everybody that gets the flu seeks medical attention, but even when they do seek medical attention, not everybody gets tested. So this is, again, just to give us a kind of an estimate of what the activity of the flu activity in our county is. But right now, we've kind of been seeing a plateau in the flu activity. The last couple of weeks it was decreasing, and now we're seeing a little bit of an uptick again. But again, this is just to bring that to everybody's attention that that this is something we can't forget about, and that even if you haven't received your flu vaccine early on in the season, it's not too late, and you should encourage everyone to get it.
So we just wanted to let everybody know that the phone number that is on the screen, 305-470-5660, is going to be a number for a hotline where if you have any questions about COVID-19 or any other questions, you can go ahead and call us. It is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, so you will always get somebody. And then you can also visit, like we said before, the CDC website. And other than that, it's time for questions.
Thank you very much. A quick question: since the governor has declared a state of emergency, is the county has activated the emergency operation center? No. You can.
Good evening. I'm Jasenia Villalta, Administrator for the Department of Health. And at this time, the county has not activated its Office of Emergency Management, but they are on standby that if they we need their assistance so that we're able to bring the appropriate individuals and organizations to the table and to handle the resources. So at this time, no, they are not activated.
Thank you very much. Do you have any question on that? Yes.
You're the first official I'm speaking to. They talk about pneumonia with the final result of this COVID. Do pneumonia shots help if you've had pneumonia shots?
That's for the pneumococcal vaccine, and that's recommended for individuals over a specific age, older individuals. But in this case, I don't have data or research to state yes or no. They're still, since this virus is very new, they're still doing a lot of research to find out how is it that this virus behaves and what is it that, we can do in the scientific community to be able to deal with this virus.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't have information for your
No answer. Okay.
Councilman Galvin? Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much to the Department of Health for an amazing job you guys are doing, been doing for so many other illnesses and the role that you play in this community. Quick question. I know Broward has identified 3 or 4 cases by now. Have we been started to test, and have we been identifying anyone in Miami-Dade County?
So in Miami-Dade County, there are no cases of COVID, okay? In terms of testing, all 3 state labs have started testing. Those state labs are located in Miami, Jacksonville, and Tampa. In addition to this week, in Miami-Dade, Quest and LabCorp started accepting specimens for processing. And that's something that individuals need to, if they have signs and symptoms, they feel that they've been exposed to COVID-19. Obviously, the first thing that one needs to do is isolate themselves, contact their medical provider, and then contact the health department. The medical provider would then determine if specimen collection is appropriate for this individual, and if they need to do so, then they will coordinate that. Either they will collect the specimen and then send it to LabCorp or Quest, or if they need the health department to process this specimen, then that medical provider needs to contact the health department, and then we would arrange for specimen processing.
Thank you so much, because you actually answered several of my questions into that response. My last question, if someone were to, because I received a call earlier today, were to go into self-quarantine, what does do they need to notify the Department of Health? Or
No.
So
They-
before, can
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead,
state,
go ahead.
before we left the office, we just wanted to like, I don't know if you were able to see the email or not yet. So right now, LabCorp is the only commercial lab that is testing for COVID-19 in Florida. Quest is up and running in the West Coast, and they do plan on being up and running on Monday for the East Coast, just so you guys know.
oh wow,
So your question was about self-quarantine.
yes,
So if an individual comes from an area level 3, which means that it's those countries are China, Iran, Italy, and South Korea, those individuals need to self-isolate. Okay. We at this time, for individuals that are coming from Italy, and you guys are the experts in this, you can tell us. Those individuals that are coming from Italy and South Korea, for individuals coming in through China, they're still coming in through 11 airports, if I'm not. Go ahead.
Same with Iran.
Yes,
Okay.
and Iran. So those individuals would be sent notification to the different states wherever they end up. So to answer your question, not all individuals who are self isolated would need to be reported to the health department. Now, if the individual starts to develop signs and symptoms of COVID-19, which includes fever, cough, sneezing, shortness of breath, then they are to call their medical provider and call the health department.
okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And one last question, I
Yes.
promise. Because we are in a community of a lot of immigrants, there's a lot of folks who might be afraid or who are afraid if they are feeling symptoms.
Yes.
What should they be at ease to do
They
call? And this would be something that we will deal with, the health department will deal with.
Yes, they should feel at ease. If they go to their medical provider and to hospitals, they will not be asked about their legal status within this country. Our important factor is to identify those individuals who have this possible virus and to be able to provide them the care that they need, and that should not deter them from providing care. In addition to, we have to be mindful about individuals who don't have health insurance and may not have a medical provider. So individuals can go to our website at the local level, and in the top we have a yellow box that individuals can click on, and it will take them to a link where individuals can find a list of medical providers for individuals who may not have health insurance or may be of low income, so that they can provide care or
Thank you.
receive the care that they need. In addition to, if I may add, we did bring a lot of resources for you all that we can leave out in the front, and you know, they're copies. But we also have these links, and these resources are readily available on our website that individuals, if you need more copies or anything like that, you'll be able to download them from the internet and make copies.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. Do you have these literatures in Haitian Creole and in Spanish?
I've requested them
Okay.
to the state in Creole and in Spanish. We got some from the county. They did translate it into Creole, but not all of it is available in Creole. But I have put in the request.
Okay. Another question, the phone number that you listed, would there be someone that's able to speak in Haitian Creole and in Spanish and any other language that is needed?
So we speak many languages
Okay.
at the health department,
Okay.
and if we don't, we do have a language translator that we can always operate if we need to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If individuals have questions, I'm sorry if I may add. If individuals have questions that that are general COVID questions or coronavirus question, the health department at the state level did implement a 24 a hotline in where individuals can call, and they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Also, I would leave that information in the front with you as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Resident just texted me. She believes that if a resident takes a domestic trip here within the United States, say to New York City, and they return to Miami, do they need to self-quarantine for 14 days?
It depends on the area where they're visiting. For example, in New York, if you go to a hot spot within New York, then when you return, then I would be mindful and self-monitor.
Self-monitor or self-quarantine?
Depending on the area where they go. If they
Let-
went to a hot spot,
Right.
right? They come back, we would recommend self-quarantine.
And is self-quarantine only effective if you do not leave your house and you do not see any guests coming in?
That's what they recommend.
I'm just want to make sure, because a lot of people are like, what
Yeah,
is
we don't know,
self-quarantine? If
yeah.
I need to go to Publix and I go out and get something
No,
and come
no.
straight back, is
No.
that self-quarantine?
No.
If your grandma comes to visit and drop off a pie, are you self-quarantined?
You have to limit visitors.
We got to be real specific now. Limit visitors? How
Or
many do you
if
limit
you
to?
can avoid people coming to your house, then you should avoid people coming to your house.
So-
if for whatever reason that they have to drop off food or something like that, maybe
the
there's
door?
where you can separate that 6 feet distance and keep your distance.
Got it.
But if you have friends come over to play video games
No.
with you, you're not self-quarantined.
No, no.
That would not be recommended.
These are the types of questions
I
I'm getting. I'm trying to like dispel. Self-quarantine is really hard to do. I've heard a lot of people say they're self-quarantining, and they're not really self-quarantining. So, you know.
And that's where we have to be also mindful in terms about our hand hygiene, our cleaning of different materials. For example, this should be cleaned, more often, and areas where there's high traffic areas, door handles, buttons, those things come into play.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
And just a question. And I heard that the virus can last for 7 days at an area.
9 days.
9
Whoa.
days.
On a hard surface,
Mhm.
it can last 9 days, but on the positive note, it's easily killed with cleaning products.
Okay. That's when we don't have to buy any
You can buy
upgrade.
Lysol, you can buy
There's no more.
disinfectant wipes.
Alcohol.
Find them in the state.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
a list on the CDC of different cleaning products that is effective against the COVID virus.
One last question.
Yes.
And I said that was my last question, but in New York, the governor just declared, I guess, an area, not a home, not a person, an area kind of quarantine situation. Is that determined based on the amount of, like you say, hotspot or the amount of infected person within that area?
Yes. Yes, that would be determined based on the number of clusters, which is called, which is the amount of cases or the number of cases in close proximity in a particular area.
And,
Thank you.
and part of that cluster would not include household members. So these are people that are non-household members that are part of the cluster, if that makes sense.
No.
Okay, so in your household, we wouldn't count. So like say you and your partner were to get sick, we would count that as one person. So these clusters are
Oh,
different
it wouldn't
households.
be, okay.
So it's not within household clusters.
Last question, and this is definitely the last one. If you are self-quarantined or you self-isolated, like Councilman Gavin asked, and you're in a home with an elderly person
With
or
the symptom or without the symptom?
well, you self-quarantine, by that time you have the symptoms, I'm assuming, or,
No, that's it.
It
If you
depends.
came
It depends.
It depends
from under
because-
the
okay,
So if you came from a country where there's high transmission, such as, let's say, Italy, right? When we come back from Italy, I would have to be self-quarantined, right?
Okay.
Self-isolated. So if I lived in a household with other folks, what the CDC is recommending is that if you can try to isolate yourself into a particular room with possibly a bathroom that you're,
That's-
an ideal.
that was my question. If you were, or if you are been exposed, let's just say by someone in a large room like this who is happen to be tested positive, God forbid, down the line. Now you are in a household with elderly or someone, but you are limited to either the bathroom or the kids. So is that, because I had this question asked, is how do you, that self-isolation happen? Do you clean, is it say?
You have to clean
Everything.
everything.
Okay.
Okay, everything. Even the bed sheets you should clean with hot water. And they also recommend that with the bed sheets, don't
Yeah,
shake
shake.
it. Don't shake it. You know, you can shake it once it's clean, but before, if you're taking it off the bed, please don't shake it because then you
Spread.
Got it. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Any other question on the dais? Madam Clerk, I know you've been talking to a lot of constituents sometimes. Do you have any question
No,
at your
Mayor.
office? What are the steps a city should be taking, for example?
Most definitely is to provide education to all of us
Mhm.
in terms of prevention, to make sure that public areas where individuals frequent and
Like
they're-
aftercare, like aftercare.
aftercare we need to clean frequently. You know,
Adult centers.
yes.
Where
Make
and
sure that
those-
we have availability of hand sanitizing agents. But you know, water and soap works really well. So we don't all have to be just really dependent on the hand sanitizers, but soap and water. And just let's be mindful of things. Let's not touch our face. Let's make sure that
That's hard.
if it is hard, it is very hard, but let's be mindful of that. Let's be mindful of if we're gonna sneeze, you know, or cough, that it has to be like this. Or if we have to use a tissue, that we, you know, wipe our nose and then throw it in the garbage and then immediately
Wash
wash our hands. And also before we eat. It's really important for us to be able to wash our hands because unfortunately this is really dirty and we're just putting things straight into our mouths. So it's just basic hand hygiene and being mindful of those individuals that are older and have underlying conditions such as, you know, heart disease or diabetes or problems with their lungs and where their immune system is not as strong as individuals who don't have those issues. So I think education and not fear, but if we have that education that we're able to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones and put in these measures.
Are you telling us, as of right now, we don't have any case in Miami-Dade County?
Correct. There's no cases.
Okay. But it's not, that doesn't mean there's nobody with the virus. You know, we don't have testing. They haven't started testing. That
We did
means,
start testing. All three labs are testing.
okay, what we got to do? Anybody can just show up and,
No.
okay, how,
So, so individuals, if they have the signs and symptoms, let me look for the specifics 'cause I don't want to give you wrong information.
Do you want us to
Yes,
recite
please
it?
take
We
it
do
away.
know it by heart.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So as of right now, tonight, as of right now, this may change tomorrow, the next day. It's always changing. It's fluid, right? The 3 PUI criterias are you need to have fever or signs and symptoms of respiratory illness and contact with a confirmed case of COVID-19.
that's only when you get,
A PUI. I'm so sorry. A PUI is a person under investigation or a patient under investigation.
okay.
So that's just a short term for us. So this would be somebody that is calling. So say someone calls us and is like, or a doctor called us and said, I have a patient that has fever, traveled to Italy, and has signs of lower respiratory illness. They would call us to discuss about testing. So then we would walk through the PUI criteria, which number 2 is fever and respiratory symptoms, and having a history of travel to one of the countries or regions that have community-based transmission. Okay, so in this case, that patient would meet the criteria to then be tested for COVID-19 with the public health labs.
How many tests can you do a day?
That is with the Bureau of Public Health, which is not. We
Not
don't
you.
No.
Okay,
It's
that's mean
at the state with the health department, but it's under a different bureau. We're not the lab.
That's when, as of right now, anybody cannot just walk in and want to be tested. No. Okay. That's when we don't know. And yes, you were going to say something.
There's one more criteria, and that's for individuals that develop fever and severe lower respiratory illness, such as pneumonia, and require mechanical ventilation. They're also, and even if they, in the absence of travel history or close contact with an individual with confirmed coronavirus 19, they can also be considered for testing. And all of this, I just want to point out, is at the discretion of it would need the evaluation of a healthcare provider. So if the individuals are experiencing this, they still need to be evaluated by their healthcare provider. The healthcare providers take care of contacting us, and then we tell them yes or no, do they meet the criteria for testing. But individuals, even if they are experiencing, they can't just call us and request the testing. They do have to be evaluated by their medical care provider.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. You said you had a question?
No, somebody did ask at the end of last week about international travel to countries that don't have cases reported.
So right now, the recommendation for individuals that come back from international travel, they're recommending for those folks to self-monitor. So self-monitor means to take their temperatures twice a day, and if they identify that they have symptoms of they start with symptoms such as fever, cough, shortness of breath, then they need to notify their healthcare provider and contact the health department.
I just wanted to add one thing. With the testing, so the commercial labs are starting to test. If the doctor calls us and say they don't meet the POI criteria, they can go ahead and test at commercial labs if the doctor believes that they have COVID-19. So it's going to be up to the doctor ultimately if they want to test for COVID-19. It'll just depend on if they get tested at the public health laboratories or at the commercial labs.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you very much. And we're going to allow 3 questions. 3 people, can you just show up and if you have a question? But it's not questioning, it's just for Miami-Dade County, related to Miami-Dade County. It's not about for expert and all that. Can you come up, please? 3 people?
Whoever want to ask.
The first 3 people for a question. Simple question about Miami-Dade County and action that they are taking. Yes.
Yeah, my question is, how can you say there's no cases in Miami-Dade County when we haven't been tested, and then there's a New York patient that was in Bell Harbor, so what's up with that?
So the case in terms of the individual for
On the
Bell
microphone,
Harbor-
please.
Use the
Yeah,
mic.
Yeah. So the individual that had gone to Bell Harbor, the dates of travel do not coincide with when that person develops symptoms. So we put out a statement and we sent it out to the mayors of, especially the mayor of Bell Harbor. So the state determined that individual did not develop symptoms did not have symptoms in Miami-Dade. They developed symptoms once they had traveled, once they were back in New York. And yes.
Yeah, is there a similar pattern to the lady that was in Hialeah from Texas or New York? In the early part of the reporting, there was a lady that was in Texas. I think she did test either negative and then positive, and then the governor, the state had stated that they did not want that person in San Antonio to be released. The person did, and I believe the person were in visiting family here in Hialeah, according to the news that I was reading. So would that be the same? Maybe you don't.
I don't know about that.
Okay. All right.
All
Thank you.
I know for that particular
For that particular case.
because we did receive a request, and then we had to reach out to the Department of Health in New York, and it was determined that that person did not have symptoms while they were in Miami, and based that plus the fact that we currently do not have cases of COVID in Miami, that was the determination for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are. Anyone, please come. Can you go quick, Mr. Cleveland?
William Purtell,
We have 2
119
mics.
North Bay Shore Drive. My question is sort of why we're not taking this a little bit more seriously, as serious as this might be. But,
Who are you talking to?
Right? Well, no, I'm not. I'm just talking in general as a country.
Oh.
If I say it was not that long ago, was it 7 days or so, when President Stable Genius.
Mr. Privatel, we're talking about Miami-Dade County. Can you ask a question for those people?
Don't interrupt me.
No. I'm
getting to a point. I'm getting to a point.
No, Mr. Privatel, that's not public forum. Please,
No.
please.
This is exactly about Miami-Dade and why you should be concerned. At that time, a week ago, we were worried about 25 people coming off a cruise ship and being half the population of those infected. It's now close to 1,000, 975 infected in these last few days. In other words, isn't it great that that cruise ship is only now 2% rather than 50%? That begs the question, it was in one state a week or two ago. It's now in 40 plus states. How can we possibly think that it's not here? I've probably met 10, 12, 20 people. Those people that I met probably met 10, 12, 20 people. They've probably been to Fort Lauderdale. They've probably been to Tampa. They've been everywhere. It's everywhere. And we just haven't uncovered it. Why aren't we taking it more seriously?
That's what it's not for Miami-Dade Department. Thank you very much. That's for the state or the federal government to answer that question.
No, and shouldn't we be minimizing our meetings and minimizing our travel and pushing that more rather than saying it's only in this infected area? Because we'll all be infected soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we want to thank the office of Commissioner Monestim. He was the first office that we called for that meeting. And after that, they reached out to the office of Mayor Jimenez. And here we have the Department of Health from Miami-Dade County. I want to thank you for coming. And you give us some nice input and information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if anybody from, thank you. If anybody from the council wanna take pictures, you're free to go. While we're gonna call Cassandra Timothy for city event, special events, please. Yes, you can come.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and North Miami neighbors. My name is Cassandra Timothy, Public Information Officer, and it is my pleasure to share some of our city's upcoming events, programs, and initiatives. The City of North Miami is following the latest guidance from the Florida Department of Health and CDC regarding prevention measures for coronavirus. To keep our residents safe and informed, we have taken steps to ensure that City Hall and all city facilities receive extra hand sanitizer dispensers to ensure a safe and healthy environment. All the links today can be found on www.northmiamifl.gov/coronavirus. In 2020, North Miami is counting on you. Beginning mid-March, every household will receive a postcard requesting you to respond to the 2020 U.S. Census. If you don't have internet access at home, on March 12th, our city will begin providing computers available throughout all of our city facilities. The information collected from the U.S. Census helps our government make important decisions and allocate over $600 billion in funding. To learn more about the city's 2020 census outreach, visit northmiamifl.gov/census2020. Mayor Felipe Enemy's first quarter business luncheon will take place Thursday, March 12th at FIU Covent Conference Center. Sponsored by the North Miami CRA, this quarter topic is WON, Women Optimizing Now, celebrating women's leading in traditional male-dominated industries during Women History Month. On March 10th at 10 a.m., join the Community Planning and Development Department and the North Miami CRA at the Resilient NOMI Summit. Focus on tools, techniques, and takeaways in a changing environment.
March 18th.
Industry leader panelists will provide input on how we survive, adapt, and create more resilient cities. The event will take place in the Wildcat Ballroom at Johnson & Wales University. RSVP via Eventbrite. Let's keep North Miami beautiful and help a neighbor in need. Join us for a Painted Proud community service project on Saturday, March 21st, beginning at 8 a.m. Sign up online at northmiamifl.gov/celebrate. All ages are welcome. Parks and Rec will begin spring camp on March 23rd at Keystone Community Center and Joe Celestine Center. Fees include all trips, activities, daily snacks, and related transportation. Visit northmiamifl.gov/parks to sign up or stop by our Parks and Recreation office. You're invited to the North Miami Police Department's inaugural community potluck and cook-off on Friday, March 27th at 4 p.m. at the Sunkist Grove Community Center. Bring your favorite dish to share and enjoy a fun-filled night with your fellow neighbors. The City of North Miami is currently accepting Golden Passport application for qualified seniors and Social Security beneficiaries to ride the Metro Rail and the Metro Bus at no cost year-round. To sign up, visit the City of North Miami's Customer Service Center on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Still need help filing your taxes? The AARP provides free tax return preparation for low and moderate income taxpayers and seniors at the North Miami Public Library every Thursday from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Assistance is available through April 9th. Stay up to date with the happenings in our city by visiting northmiamifl.gov and click on the Connect with NOMI icon on our homepage. Residents may also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you.
Hey, I'm the mayor now. Move to adjourn.
Second?
No.
You've done that before, Scott.
Yeah. You might as
Is
well.
there a
They went to
second?
go wash their hands. Like,
You should go ahead. No, no second.
Can they both leave at the same time?
is everything on the agenda now in order? Order of business? Anything you need to change, delete, add?
No deletions or additions at this time, sir.
The agenda is set, so we're going to move on and welcome back the mayor. Thank you.
You had your shot.
Thank you very much. We're done with. Now we're gonna go to.
We just took order of business.
So there were no additions or deletions.
Did we
Motion to approve consent agenda?
second?
Unless a member of the City Council wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tabs A through E constitute the consent agenda. These resolutions and items are self-explanatory and are not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered resolutions adopted unanimously by the following motion. Quotation marks that the consent agenda comprised of tabs A through E be adopted. End quotation. I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve the consent agenda. The motion was seconded by Mayor Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The item passes with a 4-0 vote, excuse me.
Thank you very much.
Tab F, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the city administration's competitive selection of Dance Contracting LLC as the lowest responsible contractor to furnish labor, equipment, materials, and expertise required to perform the Northeast Fifth Place Water Main Improvement Project. Further authorizing the interim city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with the selected contractor for the provision of services in an amount not to exceed $655,737. In accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in invitation for bid number 73-18-19, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab F.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Alberto Estrade, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you represents the results of solicitation number 73-18-19, which was issued by the Purchasing Department to request bids from qualified and experienced contractors for the Northeast Fifth Place Water Main Improvement Project. If you will recall at the last meeting, there were 4 contracts that were approved by this council having to do with sanitary sewer repairs. This item, as well as a companion item also on the agenda, is part of an ongoing proactive process that the administration, and in particular the Public Works Department, has to improve the utility infrastructure of the city. As reflected in the council report that was submitted in support of the item, the city received 15 sealed bids in response to this solicitation. Each one of the bid proposals was reviewed by staff and the city's engineering consultant, Craven Thompson and Associates. The results of this review and the bid tabulation is listed on the second page of your council report. Given the results of the bid tabulation, staff is recommending award to the firm Dance Contracting LLC as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for a not to exceed amount of $655,737 and a timeline for completion not to exceed 210 days from the issuance of a notice to proceed. The scope of work for this project includes, but it's not limited to, the replacement of an existing water line with a new 8-inch water main running for approximately 2,200 linear feet. A copy of the actual solicitation, the plans, specifications, as well as the bid proposal submitted by Dance Contracting are all attached and included for your review as part of the council report. Here with me tonight in support of this item is the city's Public Works Director, Mr. Whistler Pierre-Louis, as well as a representative from Dance Contracting. And if you have any questions, we will be glad to take them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to open it to the public first. And just a quick after public hearing. Public hearing is open on tab F. Public hearing is now closed. It's a sewer project. Why those two items, F and G, was not a part of last week long?
Through the manager, good evening, Mayor, Council, and North Miami community. Whistler Pierre-Louis, Public Works Director. We use an assortment of funding to fund our utility projects. Sometimes we get them funded by grants, sometimes we use the enterprise funds, and sometimes we use the SRF loans. These projects total about a little over $1 million. We did budget for these projects, and so we're using the funds from the utility funds to pay for these projects.
The one was the $4 million was budget also.
Yes, it was budgeted. However, we got a call specifically from Tallahassee stating we have funds for you to do a project. Give us a sewer project for to do. So we fulfilled that request and proceeded with a loan for that project.
Okay. You were going to add something.
Yes, I was going to add these projects also were projects that were budgeted last year, and this is part of monies that were rolled over into the year for projects that weren't completed.
We do understand that, but was okay. You have a question from what I understand.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I do not understand what he just stated. Okay. Help me understand clarifying what you just said. So the $4.2 million we voted at the last council meeting, that was budgeted. And this one was budgeted also? But he says something about a call from Tallahassee.
So we have, through the mayor.
And you open, is your mic open?
It's on. Vice Mayor DeSome, we do have individuals in Tallahassee when projects are available that qualify for SRF funding. They will call us and ask us, do we have any pending projects that are in place in the pipeline that would qualify for this money? And that money was available. They did call us, and coincidentally, we did have the two projects that were ready to go.
This one?
No, the last two for the last meeting. We had those two ready to go, and that's why we used them.
But I thought we
Why you didn't add
took
those
a loan
two?
though. But then we voted to take a loan.
In the amount of $2
$2 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Why those two was not added to that?
Those two.
Yeah,
they
but
asked
since
us for those two particular projects.
Yeah.
Okay. My question have not been answered. So the call that we got from Tallahassee to take the loan, or what was the call for?
Through the manager, the call was for a loan for a sewer project. The state has funding for water projects and sewer projects. Therefore, a sewer project was provided. The loan was
No,
specifically for
okay.
the sewer project.
Last
This is
council
a
meeting. Sir, I understand that, but last council meeting, we voted on the item, and I was told that the 4.2, whatever the amount was, that we were up, we had the money, it was my understanding, but we wanted to pursue the loan because of cash flow reason. So is it that reason, or did Tallahassee suggested? I'm just trying to find out, how does Tallahassee play a role into this
It was
the
both,
conversation?
sir. And as what the Public Works Director was just saying is, we got a call that there was money available for sewer projects. These two projects here are water projects. These are water main projects.
I'm not talking about these. I'm just talking about last week.
That's me. Now you're telling us that they said there's money available for sewer project, but there's no money available for water project at this time.
At this time, yes.
That's why you are paying from the utility fund to cover those two items. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We're paying with the utility funds.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I don't know. I give up.
Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab.
We already did.
Oh, we already did?
That's the
Oh.
first thing we did.
Thank you very much.
Move approval?
Second.
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab F. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
The item passes with a 4-1 vote. Tab G, proposed resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving the City Administration's competitive selection of DBF Construction LLC as the lowest responsible contractor to furnish labor, equipment, materials, and expertise required to perform the Northwest 8th Avenue Water Main Improvement Project. Further authorizing the interim city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with the selected contractor for the provision of services in an amount not to exceed $441,049. In accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in invitation for bid number 75-18-19, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab G.
Once again, council members, the item that you have before you represents the results of solicitation number 75-18-19. It was issued by the Purchasing Department to request bids from qualified and experienced contractors for the Northwest 8th Water Main Improvement Project. As reflected in the council report that was submitted in support of this item, the city received 13 sealed bids in response to its solicitation, which were also reviewed by the staff and the engineering consultant, Craven Thompson and Associates. The final results of this valuation and the bid tabulation is located on the second page of your report. As a result of the bid tabulation, staff is recommending award to the construction firm DBF Construction LLC as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for an amount not to exceed $441,049 and a timeline for completion of 210 days from the issuance of a notice to proceed. The scope of work, once again, similar to the other project, includes a replacement of existing water lines with a new water main running for approximately 1,400 linear feet. A copy of the solicitation, the plans, the specifications, and the bid proposal are all included and attached as part of the council report for your review. Again, in support of this item is the city's Public Works Director, Mr. Pierre Lewis, and myself. And if you have any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
Quick question. What is the address?
The locations for the Northwest 8th Avenue project are from 140th Terrace to 143rd Street along Northwest 8th Avenue approximately.
Okay. And the previous one, do you remember the address? Hmm?
It's in District 3. What?
Yes.
The address.
Sorry?
The fifth place. So
For fifth place, it's in the vicinity of Northeast 145th Street between Northeast 5th and 6th Avenue, Northeast 143rd Street between 5th and 6th Avenue, and then along Northeast 5th Place between 143rd and 145th Street.
thank you very much. And let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab G. Public hearing is now closed.
Move approval.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure, second, and I have a question.
Second with questions.
Sure. When will this project start? When will they start, and when will they be completed?
The project starts, well, once we get approval, it typically takes about 2 months to get a contract executed, and the contract duration is 210 days from notice to proceed.
You said 210 days?
210 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me ask you a quick. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, can you clarify why we're doing something outside of the city line?
Sure. Our water service area extends beyond city limits. They extend roughly from northeast 163rd Street to northeast 105th Street. Those are the northern and southern boundaries. And then from the Bay to northwest 27th Avenue. So because our water distribution system extends throughout that whole area, we're responsible for the maintenance of the water mains in that whole area.
Thank you very much. A quick question, and between last council and this council, you spent $5.3 million on water and sewer project. Is that correct?
Approximately.
Yes, sir. Those are the approximate numbers.
And that money was in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea of how much total are we going to spend throughout the year for water and sewer project? Or you have.
I do not have a total for you right now, but I can provide you with that information.
Can you make it public? How much money are we spending on water and sewer project? It seems like sometimes residents said we don't spend money on water and sewer project, and we don't put those out. Between last week and this week, we spent $5.3 million on water and sewer project alone.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
No. But last week we borrowed, so we didn't spend it.
It's the same thing.
Well, not if we borrow it. We spending now. Are we?
We are
spending this
spending on
one? Or are
it's
we?
water infrastructure. That's even though we borrow the money, we got to do the work gonna be done, Councilman.
No.
We're talking about the work.
That's you say in reference to the money part. But that 4.2, it's supposed to be used in the budget. It's my understanding, right, Mr. Manager?
The money is still there, and it's gonna be saving
Yes, sir.
toward the next fiscal year budget, which is better. But the money is spending. We are spending $5.3 million in water and sewer project, and those projects gonna be done. And that's what it is. And yeah, if you can provide a report on how much money was allocated for the entire budget total between water and sewer project.
Yes, we'll have that in our city update next council meeting. Sir.
Thank you very much. And can I hear a motion on tab G?
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab G. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. All in favor?
Question. No, with a question. Did you answer?
I did ask
Oh,
a
okay,
question. Thank
okay.
you.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Okay. Madam Clerk, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Item passes with a 4-1 vote. Tab H, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the interim city manager to issue purchase orders to Port Consolidated, Inc. for the purchase and delivery of unleaded gasoline and diesel fuel for city-owned vehicles in an amount not to exceed $900,000 per year. In accordance with the Southeast Florida Governmental Purchasing Cooperative Group, RFP number E-13-17, in order to maintain a continuous supply and delivery of motor fuel as required for city operations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab H.
Once again, council members, the item that you have before you is staff's request for your approval to exercise a 2-year renewal of the city's agreement with Port Consolidated Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of unleaded gas and diesel fuel for the city's vehicle fleet on an as-needed basis. As reflected in the council report that was submitted to you in support of this item, on April 12, 2017, this council authorized the issuance of purchase order to Port Consolidated based on a contract awarded through the Southeast Florida Governmental Purchasing Cooperative Group on behalf of 38 participating agencies, of which the city of North Miami is a part of. This was an initial 3-year term with an additional option to renew for 2 more years, which is now before you. In order to take advantage of the favorable rates that are achieved through this regional cooperative agreement and to ensure an uninterrupted supply of fuel to maintain the city's vehicle operations, staff recommends approval of this option to renew for an additional 2 years with Port Consolidated. Here with me in support of this item is the city's vehicle fleet manager, Mr. Jefferson Geimer. In the event that you have any questions regarding the logistical requirements for this item. Thank you.
Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open. Tab H.
Good evening, Bob Pashon, 13005 Coronado Terrace. I just have a question. $900,000 for fuel seems like a lot. So during the 3 years of the last contract, how much did we spend?
That's your question? Okay. Can you have a night?
Good evening, Jeff Geimer, Capital Project Manager, City of North Miami. On average, over the last 3 years, because of price fluctuations, of course, we've spent in the ballpark of $700,000 per year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed. Do you have questions on the dais?
Yes. So you said you used 700,000 last year?
Approximately $700,000.
And the year before that?
About the same.
About the same. So why are you estimating another 200,000?
Well, what this does is gives us a maximum, and due to price fluctuations in the market, fuel prices have been relatively low the last few years. If you go back about 4 years, you'll remember fuel prices were probably about $1 more a gallon. So we were spending a lot more at that point in time. So what this is an annual contract. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of leeway just in case. Of course, if we don't need to spend it, we're not going to spend it.
If I may, Councilwoman, just to add to the Capital Projects Manager's answer, Fleet is also an internal service fund, which means it's its own fund. These monies do not move over to the general fund. They're only for Fleet. If they do spend less money in fuel, the money stays inside the Fleet department. And then whatever fuel we purchase is in our fuel tanks.
So why don't we just, why we estimate, again, why can't we just leave it at, let's say, 800,000 or less than that amount? If there's a need, why don't you just come back to us instead of, I'm not understanding the reason. I understand the fluctuation, but how are you, what mathematical method are you using?
If I may, also, and calculated, I'm almost sure in the Capital Projects Manager's number, is that we do have a purchase order in place during hurricane season, and we have our stuff in place when we can order the fuel as needed. So it's just something we do. If it's the board's will to lower the number, we'll lower the number.
It is the board's
That's
will
not
to
what
lower
we
it.
said. You got to say, last year it was 900,000. We spent 700, and the 200,000 is at the
it's
bank.
still there.
That's what it is. If the price of gas went up in $3.50, that's mean you have to pay. You have to use the gas. That's what it is. You just that's the cap, but it can be $200,000 or $100,000.
If I may.
Go ahead. So I understand that. What I'm suggesting is that let's just lower it. That's all I'm suggesting.
For a gallon of gas,
Can I ask a quick
there's
question?
things that in the city that's to keep the city. Those are operation service to the city. Those are operation. Those are not things for us to just.
No, Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, I understand what Councilwoman Irving is getting at. My question is, the last resolution that we did the previous year, Mr. Geimer, were the resolution presented at 900, or what was the amount that it was presented? If it was presented at 900, then I'm okay with doing it, but what was it before?
Yes, it was presented at $900,000. What we estimated, we use about 300,000 gallons a year.
Okay.
So what we're putting in a number at is $3. Right now we're purchasing it around 2.25. But as price fluctuates, if something happens and prices go up to 3.25, this gives us that leeway so that we could still stay in that ballpark. But we purchase about 300,000 gallons a year.
Okay.
in fuel.
I still have more questions.
Go ahead.
Alberto, you mentioned that this was a 3-year contract with 2-year renewal. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the 3-year has expired. We're coming at the renewal.
That's correct.
And you're recommending that we do a automatic 2-year renewal, or why aren't we doing just a yearly renewal?
Well, that's the option that you have to exercise.
Okay.
A 2-year option. You know, I suppose if it's the will of the council, if you want to lower it to 1 year, I suppose we could do that. But the initial approval was back in 2017 in April for a 3-year term. So it's now up for renewal, and that's what we're recommending, is the 2-year renewal, but it's the council's pleasure.
I have a
You have any-
technical question. Mr. Estrada, in the package that we received, the sample of City of Pompano Beach contract, is that a sample for us to look, or is this is not no piggyback? This is just...
No, that's the way this works. This is a cooperative. This is a regional cooperative. It's the Southeast Florida Regional Cooperative, and it's made up of 38 different participating agencies. And what typically will happen, you'll have a lead agency that will do the procuring of the contract, and it so happens that it was the City of Pompano Beach. So they're the lead agency, but this is a cooperative purchase, you know, where all agencies participate in this. It's different than a piggyback, because a piggyback is where a particular agency, they award a contract, and then we make a decision as the word says, to piggyback on that contract. This is a regional cooperative purchase, so it's different. There was a participation from all the agencies, but the lead agency was the City of Pompano Beach. So this happens to be the contract, again, that all of these agencies are using.
Okay, so if this, which I understand, but it still sounds to me like a piggyback. That's just me. That was it.
Do you have any other question?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Carol, no question?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve made by, Councilwoman Keys to approve the item at tab I. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tab J, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida.
Did you skip tab I?
Yeah, he did. She did.
Tab I.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did. Tab I, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, declaring that certain city-owned real property located in various areas of the city are surplus and no longer needed by the city. Authorizing the interim city manager to dispose of said property by offering them for sale, subject to certain conditions, and providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. This item was tabled from the February 11th, 2020 council meeting.
Once you're done, I want to say a few words
Okay.
since it's my item.
That's your idea. You
Yeah,
got to
no, I
talk
wanted
first.
the manager's
Oh,
gonna
you
speak,
want?
but I would-
Okay.
This item, as the clerk stated, was tabled at the last meeting, and we did table the item. I felt that we needed more information. These are, I think we have approximately four items. The list was about 6 or 7 the last time, but we had to go back and review and actually catalog all of the properties. And some of the properties we did take off the list. Tanya will do a presentation, a brief presentation. I believe it's only maybe 5 or 6 slides on each one of the properties and what the properties are zoned for, and a picture of the property, so the board will be aware of exactly what properties and what the property looks like that we are getting ready to surplus and move forward.
Oh, okay, just before Ms. Wilson does the presentation, I asked the previous city manager to put this item on the agenda because I was getting a couple of questions from residents. I had one property in this particular instance of 135th Street and 4th Court that's been vacant between 2 homes for the past 5 years. My preference, as everyone knows, and I've spoke to the previous manager about this, if we could either do something ourselves within the property, and I was told that we're not in the business of actually building, keeping stuff they wanted to X. to add it to the tax roll. So my purpose for this intent for this item is to really kind of hear what my colleagues on this dais, what are the ideas or what we should do with these properties, because I'm hearing from homeowners who are stuck in between that we need to either develop it into something or do something with these particular properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the record,
We need
Tanya
the
Wilson.
locations, most likely. Go ahead. The locations.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
include
yeah,
that. So I
yeah.
have a presentation of the 4 lots that the city manager mentioned before. Just for the record, Tanya Wilson with Community Planning and Development. I walk you through the location of each lot and just give you some information on the zoning and the background. So you have some profile of each of these locations. So this one has the address of 665 Northwest 130th Street. It's located on the west side of the city. It's zoned C1 commercial. It's also located within that area that's been designated as a Chinatown district. It's located in the Planned Corridor Overlay District. So what that means is that this lot actually has a density of up to 100 dwelling units per acre, maximum height of 200 feet because of the overlay that it's located within. The lot size is estimated at 10,163 square feet in size, so it's a little bit under a quarter of an acre. It's vacant currently, so there's no structure on the property. Based on the property appraiser background information we found, it's estimated at $162,608 today. This one, again, is located in District 4. The second property that you'll see on the screen has an address of 12505 Northwest 11th Avenue. This one is zoned R2, so it's a single-family residential district that has a maximum height of 35 feet. It's in the Sunkist Grove area, actually, and it's considered just residential development in that area. The lot size is estimated at 8,730 square feet. And the property value that we found on property appraiser says $78,570. Again, this is District 4. The next lot has an address of 13715 Northwest 3rd Avenue. This one also is zoned R2, so that's a single family designation, maximum height 35 feet. The lot size is estimated at 7,150 square feet. It is a vacant lot. The one before, I'm sorry, I failed to mention, actually has a structure. It's dilapidated and would require some level of rehab. This one that we're looking at is a vacant parcel, so there's no structure on site. Estimated value of $56,971. And again, this one is located in District 4. This address is 975 Northwest 132nd Street. This too has a single family designation, a zoning of R2. Maximum height 35 feet, estimated lot size 7,920 square feet. It is a vacant lot. There's no structure on that property. Estimated value of $71,351. And again, this one is located in District 4. So all 4 lots are located in District 4. You'll notice that 3 are residentially zoned. There's one that is commercially zoned that's located in the Chinatown district. Just also want to point out, as the mayor and council considers what to do with these lots, that there's actually a Florida statute, and I'm going to read that into the record. That's statute 166.0451, as it relates to affordable housing, that requires cities, if there are lots within a single family district that could be considered for affordable housing, cities are required to put those lots on the record at a public hearing like we're doing now in the form of a resolution to make the public aware that these lots are available and could be used for affordable housing. And then the statute goes on to say that if, in fact, the city puts these lots up for some type of bidding process, that there should be a restrictive covenant or something in place that encourages the buyer, whether it be a community development organization or a CDC, to retain the affordability of these units. So it is one of the strategies through the Florida statute that's encouraged for local governments to consider when we're thinking about resolving the issues of affordable housing. So just another measure. So that's Florida Statute 166.0451 that we want to place on the record.
Also, Tanya, with 975 and the 13715, that's the one that I was talking about. I did ask the homeowners around there if a pocket park would have been the first option. We did, and ironically, this was a couple of years ago. They said no, simply because, is that one the 137 4th? Is that one gated? Did we end up putting a fence around it? Because part of the complaint was, and the reason that they didn't want a pocket park is because of, you know, the kids around there playing around at night and doing other things. So that was the first option we did at X in reference to putting a little pocket park there in that. Yeah, that one
It's
in
the one on the screen.
Yes, that one and the one on 132nd. The problem is they always using it as a free parking spot. So you'll pass by, a yellow school bus will be parked there, or a big truck. And so the people adjacent to it, they've been going with this for the past few years. And the other issue is we have not kept up with, because I remember I had to take you out there one day to look how crazy it is. We had to clean it up, just trying to keep it up with that. So.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open. On tab I.
Good evening, Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffith. Oh, I'm sorry, Judy, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Ladies first.
Yes.
Thank you. Judy Brown, Northwest 128 Terrace, Sunkist Grove. My question is this: since we have such a shortage in affordable housing, is it possible to get Habitat for the Homeless to come in and somehow, I see this happening all over, where they build houses for people and everybody participate, and these families have houses to live in. That was my question.
Thank you very much. Public hearing still open.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin. My concern with this is, how are we thinking about climate change and rising sea level in the stewardship of these properties moving forward? So if you're going to sell them, one day, maybe in 5 or 10 years or sooner, I don't know when it will be, we'll be having the conversation about no more construction of single-family homes, because that will be something of the past as sea level rises. So these are properties that could be used as, it just makes me a little concerned when I hear, we asked the residents and they didn't want a pocket park, but sometimes residents need things that they don't realize that they need. And, we should all have parks. We have a shortage of parks in this city. And it just concerns me, having been through a history of, land trying to be being sold in our city very cheaply, and how this could be really something to enrich.
When that happened, sir? I've been in the city for 6 years. We never had that situation.
When what?
Selling things for cheap.
Well, it was only because we got up here and begged you please not to sell a piece of waterfront property for $4,000 that it wasn't sold. So I'm just concerned to see more properties being sold and what the use of that property is going to be. Because, we need water mitigation. We need passive green space. Kids need parks. When you're saying, oh, well, there's kids playing in there in the park, well, great. Kids should have green space and parks. So, I think that these properties should be developed into parks, or maybe the commercial lot obviously should be used for commercial purposes. But, there's a real, especially in District 4, there's a real lack of access to green space and parks for kids, and I think that it should be for a passive purpose and addressing rising sea level and water mitigation. I would like to know, for example, what is the elevation of the properties that you're talking about? This matters. And you say that the city's not in the business of developing and building properties. I think in the future the city will have to be, because we have an impending humanitarian crisis in our city, and it does relate to this issue. Thank you.
William Prevotella, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Just in following up on this concern for the parks, sometimes these miscellaneous lots do not lend themselves to being a park. There's a maintenance concern, there's the proximity to the neighbors, and so on. However, maybe there could be a compromise. Maybe some of the sale of these, maybe the proceeds could go towards parks, possibly in that same area that has sort of given up that land. Maybe that could be reattributed to that particular district. whether it's an existing park or to get the right piece of property to create the right park in that neighborhood. So therefore, it'd be sort of a win-win. We'd be able to collect on that, we'd be able to do the urban infill as we should, and we'd have a park by choice rather than by default, which would be a nice way to do that. Thank you.
Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. Whether we sell the lots or we keep the lots to use for affordable housing, or whichever direction we take on these lots, I think it's important to maintain the lots. Looking at these, a lot of the maintenance looks like it's been derelict. If some of these properties were owned by city residents, they would be in danger of being fined by code compliance. So we need to really have the city lead by example by making sure that if they own this land, they're making it clean and attractive to the neighborhood and not actually detracting from the neighborhood. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. I went around and saw all these properties, and you've seen them all here. It is a sad state of affair that the city allowed city-owned property to deteriorate into the condition, and as Laura just said, if it was a regular resident, they would have been cited a dozen times, overgrown trees and fences and berms and so forth. And if people are parking semi-trucks and buses on a private piece of property, that's a law enforcement issue, and they should be notified that we don't allow that to happen. But going back to these properties, we have a CRA, remove slum and blight, affordable housing. We own the land. We have a housing authority that you just put millions of dollars for rehabbing and for to recondition people's houses. Yet we have property we own already. One of the biggest costs of building a new house is the land cost, land value. I thought Judy had a great idea. Do something with Habitat for Humanity. You have the house, people put sweat equity in, let that be our contribution, you get it on the tax rolls. I think it is foolish for us to sell these properties because the values that are up there aren't really going to be realistic properties that the value we're going to get. The house that's deteriorated, it's directly across from Sasso Pool, that's all boarded up. We should either have the building department say, as a condition of sale, the house must be torn down, or yes, it could be rehab. You want to say we're not in the business of rehabbing? We own apartment buildings that we rehabbed. We have a housing department. What are we doing if we're not creating housing? So why don't we let one of the companies bid, rehab that house, and sell it to somebody, whatever mechanism you have, to somebody who can afford that. And the other thing is the commercial property on 130th and 6th Avenue. It's adjacent to our other city-owned land, which is the fire department. The fire department is trying to rebuild that station. We own the land where that station was because that used to be our fire department before we went to the county. That lot in the back was supposed to be additional parking if they ever needed it. So if they go to rebuild your fire department in your district, Alex, they're going to need to have a satellite office, which would perfect sense to go on that vacant lot we have now. Let them rebuild that fire department, which they're trying to do. Why would we sell land we already own adjacent to a new fire department property that we wanted? Did anybody talk to the fire department and say, yes, we need it, we don't? And also, previous councils at one point in time gave away the east side of on 130th Street where it dead ends to I-95. And Williams, the moving company, built their building on half the street, and half the street went to this lot. And to enter that property is a very narrow access. In just a few 4 seconds, that especially that property. All the other ones ought to be single-family homes. By the way, some of those lots are non-conforming. They're not the minimum square footage that we require as a single-family home.
Thank you
But
very
the one
much.
next to the fire department, we should hold on to for the time being.
Thank you very much. Public hearing still open. Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something? You know what's so interesting is I don't know who said anything about selling. The first statement that I made before I opened my mouth when I presented this was like, I am one who does not want to sell, because I have had that conversation with our city manager, the former city manager. Mr. Burns, in reference to the fire station, the manager mentioned that they wanted to, purchase that particular property to extend their fire station. But folks are making assumptions or coming up here saying whatever. I think, this is just an idea that I'm getting from, Okay, well, then I apologize. The intent, which I mentioned up here, is to try to find direction as far as what we wanted to do as a city in terms of going forward with these properties. One of them been there for 5 years. The other one has been there for 4 years. And I've called code on the one on 132nd. The one on 137th or 4th, if you see it, Mr. Howard, it's in between two homes. And these are single-family homes. And it's not being kept very properly. So I do understand the neighbors if they said, I do not wish for this to be a park because it's not in a area that's in a corner. The one next to, directly from the pool, Sasso Pool, it's been there for about 3 or 4 years. I didn't even know that we owned it. So these ideas, we wanted to hear from not only residents, but from the council, what direction on a policy that we wanted to go. If if selling is part of it, it's fine. If we want to keep whichever one, but we need to decide it, whatever that we need to do in terms of a council and a community. If not, it's going to be 5 years, and they still gonna be there. Because I'm pretty sure there's others around the city that's just been there for the past couple of years, and nothing has happened with the conversation. So we need to get these ideas on whatever that we need to do in terms of where we move forward with these particular properties.
Thank you very much. And since public hearing is closed, do you have any question, Councilwoman?
Yes, actually. City Attorney, could you kind of explain the statute that the director mentioned, statute 166.0451? Please.
166.04151 is a state statute on affordable housing. It allows you to create any rule or adopt any rule to create affordable housing. So it's not a mandatory. It doesn't say that we can't sell the house on the market. It says if you want to establish some rule to give incentives to create affordable housing, you can.
Okay. Madam Director, please. Based on your professional experience, is there a particular property that you would suggest or recommend that we use as affordable housing?
Can we let, since he was a district for he was an item went by Vice Mayor Desulme, let him make the recommendation, but not staff. Staff already stated that if you want to build, even though if we're going to sell, whoever's buying have to build affordable housing. That's what she was saying.
That was my understanding.
In the statement, or
We're suggesting that at least there be a restrictive covenant so the property is not flipped just for profit.
That's when whoever's buying.
Okay.
Satisfying the affordable housing goal that
Absolutely.
you have in the comprehensive plan.
That was
because when I had the conversation a couple months back with the former manager, I think it's within the county law, within a residence from North Miami, or somehow would get a priority if that's something that we wanted to do in terms of that. I would say that the fire station, if the board would allow that, we do move forward. If they wanted to purchase it, the fire station, as far as that, the other ones, however that we wanted to do it, I'm totally open for. I would prefer if we could build it, since we are doing it. But again, I was told that it's better. I believe from your office and from the former manager that we let these go because they would be adding to the. Could you explain that to us, Ms. Wilson?
So I think the conversation we had with the city manager was the fact that they could serve two purposes. One, to satisfy the affordable housing need in the city, but you also activate the lots so they become tax-generating lots. Where now it's non-taxable because it's just vacant parcels that belong to the city. I also want to add that there are CHODOs, you know, there are community development organizations that specialize in building affordable housing. They're HUD certified. This is the market that they're in to provide decent quality affordable housing. So certainly if the language is tailored in some kind of solicitation that you put out, you could tailor it to affordable housing developers so it stays within that arena.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Could we actually put that in any advertisement we did with preference given to affordable housing developers?
It's done all the time. It's a strategy that cities use, that you tailor it to the market with the folks who specialize in doing just that. They know how to build it. They know that the market that it's for. So it could be a community development corporation, or it could be a CHODO, a community development organization. You have several throughout the region that do that. Once you put a bid out, then it becomes competitive, and you go through the solicitation process for that. But that way you keep the integrity of the process, and you make sure that it goes to the end user that it's intended for, a family that's within that income range that's looking for affordable housing.
But
so you have 3 or 4 that could fall in that category. You have 1 commercial, so that's a.
How would you make sure that because that's been one of my questions with our affordable housing initiative, that it's residents within the city or, that would meet those guidelines?
So the good thing is that you have a housing program here with an established guideline, and the guideline dictates who qualifies, the income range, the house size. So you already have the process that's in your books. You pretty much would just have to include that as a part of the language in your solicitation, that it will be based on the housing guidelines, first come, first served, vetted.
No, your question
yes.
is related to
that.
whoever live next to the property. Do you have preference?
My question would be, or recommendation, Mr. Mayor, if we could table this item in management, you talk to us individually as far as that, because we know I thought that I didn't know how this was written as far as the sale. The intent was to kind of find out, we know what's out there, what exactly that we needed to do. Because that option was giving, but along with some other options that the former manager and I had discussed it, I think, along with the attorney. So perhaps if we could pull it and then talk to
me, my
preference.
I don't have any preference. Whatever it's in District 4, whatever you feel like. I'm pretty much sure you've been talking to residents or people who are on those lots, whatever motion you wanna make, I'm willing to support that. No, we're gonna ask you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanna let you know this is my position. Yes.
Just a couple questions. First of all, we have 4 lots. Number 1, I'd like to see us take each lot individually, not as a whole, we're not just selling the 4, because the way it's written is we're just gonna go ahead and get our appraisals and sell the 4. I'd like to look at them individually, which we've started to do. The one is vacant lot, which we can do like we did on 128th
There's
Street.
2 or 3.
No,
3.
there's only 1 vacant residential we're talking about.
No, there's 2. There's
you have
2
vacant residential. One has a structure, which is this one, and then the last one is a vacant commercially zoned lot in the overlay district.
So we don't have 2 houses? It's just
no, they're not
you
houses.
have 1 derelict structure, which is this one.
That's
12505.
So
I
that's
thought that's been knocked that down. No.
What happened to that one?
So what's
You
on
had burned?
130? Okay, so that's derelict, which needs to be knocked down.
It needs to be rehabbed. It needs to be assessed to
So that's
see
a
if it's
rehab.
worth
So that needs to
rehabbing
be
versus
rehabbed.
just demolition.
And what about the one on 132nd?
137
That's
is
vacant?
Yeah, both of them are
that's
vacant.
empty
I
lot.
thought, so
Yeah,
there's
this
only
one is
one.
vacant.
So does that house need to be torn down, or you said?
No, it's already
No,
torn
both.
down.
Already vacant.
It's vacant.
And
just
the other,
grass.
and the 3rd residential is a vacant lot.
Yes.
Yes, and that's been there for 5 years.
132
That's
is
this one.
vacant.
3rd Avenue is vacant.
137 is vacant.
This one is vacant. That has a structure.
This
and then this one is commercial, but it's also vacant. There's nothing there.
And
It's
that's
Yeah.
the
just
one, that's
demolished.
the one that you want to
It's
sell
in
to
the
the fire
Chinatown
department?
district.
Well, I've heard that. I don't know. I don't want to do nothing. Just
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
clear.
I
Yeah.
personally think that being where it is, I think it's a nice location.
Yeah.
I wouldn't jump to sell that, but the other
Good.
3, maybe talk to the councilman, it's like what we did on, was it 128th Street? We did the the senior affordable
So
housing?
you have a green elderly housing that's right now going through that affordable housing process with a CDC
With a
actually.
that's a charter,
Yes,
right?
Yes, you have
Yeah,
a
that
Community
would be-
Development Corporation.
That
that's
might be
working on
something
that.
you want to look
That's
at
what
before
I
we
wanted
sell.
You
to
have a
do
model
with the
there.
one
You're
by the
right.
pool.
You do have a model.
That's what I wanted to do with the one by the pool from the yellow, the one across from.
Okay, since we are
This
moving,
one.
you wanna do a motion to do?
Well, my,
you wanna
I don't want to
table
make
or
an
what you wanna
emotion,
do?
if I could table it, but I do like the idea is let's keep, I just want to be clear what we're doing so that we all be on the same page. I like the idea of keeping the one by the fire station. Let's do that, and I think that one is not really an issue. The other three, let's do the affordable housing for the one next to, I guess, Sasso Pool, and the other two vacant lot. I think those could be, whatever that because we need something there with guidance.
Could you just split them up into like 4 different items so we can?
Let's do that. Let's do that. So why don't we pull it and then we'll bring it one at a time. We'll address it like that.
No,
Thank you.
for separate
Yeah,
items.
that's
Okay.
4 separate items.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Councilman Estime, you were saying something.
I'm fine with, I'm fine with the decision that is being made now.
No.
Vice Mayor Desame, do you want to make that motion to table?
It's not.
I'll make a motion for.
What is your motion?
Yes, my motion is let's table the item, and then we'll come back and split it individually.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion made by.
You wanna say something? Oh,
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Desame to table the item at tab I. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Okay. Tab J, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, establishing the Arch Creek East controlled residential parking area located on 135th Street, east of Biscayne Boulevard, pursuant to Chapter 11 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinance entitled Licenses and Business Regulations at Article 12, Controlled Parking Residential Areas limited to those who live in proximity to the zoned area, providing for inclusion in the Code of the City of North Miami, and providing for an effective date. Tab J.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you may recall, last year, actually about a year ago, we passed an ordinance. It was ordinance number 1437. And that ordinance established the framework that allowed us to create residential controlled parking areas. Residential parking controlled areas, if you can think about it, if anyone's ever been to Miami Beach, right off the commercial areas, you're not allowed to park in those residential areas. And that ordinance was modeled on Miami Beach's ordinance and other ordinances around the country. And what the ordinance does is establish the framework to allow us to do the same thing here in the city. Where there are issues in particular neighborhoods, we can establish residential parking areas with different rules regarding those areas based on what that area needs. So tonight you have the first of two. The way we set up the ordinance last year was that these parking areas could be brought up in 2 ways. They could be brought up by the manager, or they could be brought up by the residents. Residents can petition. 51% of the residents in an area can bring up one of these areas. The first one that you'll hear tonight is on the Arch Creek East residential parking area. That one actually began. And for full disclosure, I actually own property on that block, so I actually saw those problems, spoke to Councilman Galvin about the problems, and at the same time, we had residents coming in discussing the issues on that street. So what you have on Arch Creek East is there's just not enough parking spaces. And so what happens in the evening is people are parked diagonally, causing a danger. They're parked across the bicycle lanes. So if you're riding a bicycle late at night, you could actually, they're diagonally, sometimes perpendicular across the street, and that's because they don't have parking. Additionally, what Councilman Galvin pointed out, and we found out later from talking to the residents, is there are seven townhome areas along that street. Those townhomes have parking in front of the buildings. For whatever reason, when those townhomes were created, those parking spaces weren't assigned to those unit holders. So now, in those particular parking areas, you could wake up one day and someone could park their car in front of your house and go on a week-long vacation, and you can't park in front of your house. So this ordinance is meant to deal with all those issues. So the first thing the ordinance does is immediately, you can break the. No, we're just dealing
The
right now
same
with
thing for both items.
Well, no, again, we got to treat them differently because there's different issues for different parking areas. So I'll talk about the other one in a second. But on this one, what it does first is to deal with the issue with the issue with the townhomes. It creates 7 sub parking areas, and what it does is, and coincidentally, those areas are Northeast 20th Court, which is also called Pelican Court, Northeast 21st Court, which is Ibis Court, Northeast 22nd Court, which is Dolphin Court, Northeast 23rd Court, Manatee Court, Northeast 23rd Place, which is Osprey Place, Northeast 24th Court, which is Herring Court, and Northeast 24th Place, which is Fish Place. It creates sub-areas for each of those townhomes. So each of those townhome areas can have their own parking area. You can restrict parking to only the residents and visitors of those townhomes. So that's the first thing it does. With regard to the rest of the street, what it does is immediately prohibits the parking of commercial vehicles at night. One of the issues that you have, and I don't have the photographs, but we share them with the residents. But there are nights when there are school buses are taking 3 or 4 spaces, and residents have no place to park on that street. They're parking on the grass, they're parking on the swales. So immediately what this does, once it's passed, is that it would prohibit the commercial vehicles. And then the other issue we had, and Chief can attest to this, is you had folks, and I swear it's people going on vacations, but you have folks who park in those spaces, and they were there literally for months. I think there was one vehicle that was parked there from December till just a couple of weeks ago. And I think I saw the sign, the police had put the sign, so I think they actually may have either towed it away or the person finally moved. So the second thing this does is that it immediately requires that you can no longer park in any space for more than 72 hours. The final thing that this—
For more than 72
hours.
You know what some of them does?
They'll just move.
You put the stamp and then move the car.
So when we had the discussion, the discussion that we had when we talked to the residents at the town hall meeting was, this isn't going to solve every problem on that street. We're not going to solve everything on the street. There are other things that we think we need to do in terms of public works, creating other spaces. This is just a step, but it will help a little bit, and then we'll do other things. So the last thing that this does is—
Why don't we create pay parking with decal only for residents living in the area?
That's the last thing that this does, is authorizes the manager and the administration to create a parking permit program. What that parking permit program would do immediately is, in the east side of the street, there are city parking spaces that are reserved for people who are using the reserve during the day. You're not allowed to park there at night because without some sort of permit parking, you don't know who's parking there. If we do a permit parking program, then we know that people with the permits actually live there and can park there overnight, and then obviously in the morning they have to move and allow it. So that's what this ordinance does. As I said, I believe the councilman will speak and express his support of it, but the residents do support it. I'm not sure if there's any residents here tonight to support it, but I know all of the homeowners associations all support this. And so we ask for your support. And
I just want to thank you, Mr. City Attorney. This was something that we floated as a neighborhood idea years ago, and were told by previous city attorneys that it wasn't possible. So I thank you for investing the time that you've done to make this happen. We've had at least 2 homeowner meetings with the Arch Creek East Neighborhood Association to sort of vet this. They're having another one on St. Patty's Day night if you're not doing anything. But this will go a long way towards starting to, create some barriers for people when they're trying to park, exactly like the city attorney said. So I'm thankful that he's invested the time and hopeful that council will support it tonight.
Thank you very much. And do we have any questions before we move it to the public? Move to the public. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion for approval?
think Bob is coming.
Oh,
Good evening again. Bob Pashon, 13005 Coronado Terrace. I think this is a wonderful idea, but the devil's always in the detail. We have had, come out of the Planning Commission, a definition of commercial vehicles for over a year, which we don't have any longer. A commercial vehicle is any vehicle that's used for business. The Uber driver who uses his car for Uber, he's a commercial vehicle. Eddie Montgomery hates me for this, but her car is a commercial vehicle. Bus is a commercial vehicle. We have a definition. What's going to happen tonight, this is a great idea, but we've got to work out some issues. Where do the guests park? How many parking pass decals do I get? So I paid $600,000 for my condo, and I get one parking place or two, and I have kids. I mean, you've got to get some parameters around that. We have two of these tonight. And just with the commercial vehicle item, we've got on this one, we say commercial vehicles not allowed. Again, the Uber guy can't park there. On the other location, we defined a commercial vehicle, no commercial vehicles allowed, but based upon definitions of Section 33124 of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ordinances. So we have two parking situations, and we define commercial vehicles differently. We can't do that. By the way, the next one that comes up, I'll talk about that in a minute. That's crazy. If I've got I can park a bus in front of my place if I give permission. But this, I just think it needs some more work. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked because once we turn the dogs loose and give people places to park, because that's what they want. But I think there's so many loose ends and details that just need to be worked out. Thank you.
thank you very much. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman,
Move approval.
Second.
a quick question. Those regulation is for public parkings, right?
This is all public parking, yes.
For all public parkings, okay.
I'd just like
Yeah.
to ask a question, because I'm in total agreement with Mr. Pashon in that we have a problem with our definition of commercial vehicle, because right now, like it says, if you use a car for going to business, it becomes a commercial vehicle. So Annie, your car is a commercial vehicle. So anyway, that's one thing where I'm not saying we shouldn't have this in there, but we do need to tighten up and go back to a definition.
How can you
commercial.
determine
There's-
a commercial vehicle?
I mean, that's
If
just
the
our
person has
definition.
the person have a private title, it doesn't say commercial,
Actually,
and they have a private
We don't have-
insurance,
we don't
how
have
you
a-
gonna
We
tell
don't have
them,
to
no,
do
it's a
any of that.
commercial?
Miami-Dade County has a definition of what a commercial vehicle is, and that's
Okay.
what's quoted in the other ordinance.
So we should-
We left it out in the first one, but we can change that for second reading.
Okay, so we do that.
whatever the
And I
county-
just have one other question on F. There should be no overnight parking on 135th Street between 7 and 7, except by residential visitor parking. Should there be no parking or overnight? So if you come without a permit and you just go over to have dinner and it's like 8 o'clock and you stay there till 10, that's not overnight, is it? So is that really the intention?
No, they can have a guest spot.
No, if they don't have a guest spot,
Ticket.
so if you just go and you park your car there at 8 o'clock, you are just absolutely not allowed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's not overnight. That
Right.
should just be no parking between 7 and 7 if you don't have a permit.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, overnight
We
is
can take
when
the
you-
word overnight
Yeah,
out.
these are little details I think we can work out
Okay, well,
as
I'm
it's
just bringing it up
implemented.
before you-
The whole goal is to keep people from parking in front of townhouses that aren't supposed to be
No,
there.
I agree, but I
and
just think it
that's-
should be, I mean, just looking at it in a different way, someone parks there at 8 o'clock, they go there and they watch the football game and they leave at 9:30 or 10 o'clock or 12. Hey, I didn't stay there overnight, I just was there for a couple hours. So that's, I think we should just change the word overnight, just a recommendation. So, just don't park there if you don't have the permit. I think it's a great idea, you did a good job with it.
Thank you very much.
And
And
it's only the first reading, so.
Councilwoman,
No question.
no question?
No question. No
Vice
comment.
Mayor.
I second it.
Hmm?
I already second the motion.
Okay. Madam Clerk, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab J. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estimé Irvin. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desome, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimé Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote on
Thank you,
first reading.
Councilmember.
Tab K, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, establishing the Griffin Biscayne Park Estates 1 controlled residential parking area on Northeast 127th Street between Northeast 4th Avenue and Northeast 6th Avenue, and on Northeast 4th Avenue between Northeast 125th Street and Northeast 129th Street, pursuant to Chapter 11 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Licenses and Business Regulations at Article 12, Controlled Parking Residential Areas, to limit parking to those who live in the zoned areas, providing for inclusion in the code of the City of North Miami, and providing for an effective date. Tab K.
Thank you. So Mayor, Council, as we discussed, this is the second one, and this is exactly why I said we have to deal with each of these differently. So the issue you had in the last ordinance was that there were people parking at night and the residents couldn't park at night. So that was dealing with the issue of parking at night. Here you have a different issue. There's a business located nearby these residents. The overflow from that business, the overflow parking for that business tends to end up on these residents' lawns, in front of their homes, on their swales. And typically what happens if you go down that street, those swales are destroyed and then the resident gets cited by code. So this came, again, this came to us in different ways. It came to us, I believe I had a discussion first with Mayor Bieneme about it, and then we also have an ongoing issue with that commercial business, and we identified that this was an issue. So what this ordinance does is, again, it prohibits parking during the day in front of those homes. And we had a discussion with the residents yesterday, and so the boundaries on second reading will probably change slightly. We had it going from 6th Avenue to 4th Avenue. After discussions with the residents, they said they didn't think it should go as far as 4th Avenue. The idea behind putting it going all the way to 4th Avenue is that we didn't want to restrict parking up to 5th Avenue and then cause people to park all the way on 4th, because now that's out of the residential. So we said just go down 2 blocks. The feedback was that people aren't going to park 2 blocks away. So, based on whatever you all decide tonight, we can restrict it that way. And then also on the east side, I think we kept in some commercial property. So the next time you see this, it'll be more of a rectangular space. But at any rate, what this will do is it will prohibit parking in that area without a residential parking permit from the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then also no commercial vehicle parking on that area without the permission of the residents between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then again, obviously, we'll create a parking permit program. As I talk to the residents, none of the parking permit program. This isn't something new. Other cities have done it. We haven't done it yet, and so we're going to be working through this with these two first areas. We'll learn a lot, and hopefully it'll make things a lot easier the next ones. So immediately here, what the residents should see is hopefully the signs are a nominal amount, and there will be signs in the next coming weeks or months that say no parking between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Sometime after that, we will issue some sort of permit program while working with the residents. These will be a nominal fee. After reviewing other cities, the fees are typically around $25 or $50 a year for the stickers, and then you're also issued some visitor stickers. So we'll work that out with the neighbors. Like I said, they have a pretty active group. I know some of them are here tonight, and we'll work with them through all the processes. But we're not imposing anything on the residents that they don't want themselves, because again, for some of these areas, it's going to be a voluntary thing that the residents come to us saying we want this. So in this case, this is something that we're doing through the manager's office, but we still want the residents to support it and be part of it and want this in their area.
That's a good question. You say issue permit for that area. Everybody have a big driveway. I think the biggest issue.
Your mic is not on, sir.
Oh, the biggest issue is the red, white, and blue.
And that's
as soon as it's closed, everything
so-
is fine and people have enough parking on the driveway.
That's what we thought, and that's what that's why the discussions with the residents are useful. We thought the same thing, that you wouldn't have to have a permit program, until one resident brought up the fact that he can only park one vehicle on his property. He only has space for one vehicle on his property, so when people come and visit him, they have to park on the swale. So a person like that, if there's no residential parking permit program there, even if you prohibit parking, there's no way for the police to know whether that person's there as a visitor of this person or not, unless there's some sort of
Yeah,
indication.
but
in terms
you're not
of
going to destroy the swells in the area for just one person. Sometimes, you know what, they put a fence, they don't want cars to get into the driveway, and they just want to park on the swells.
Again, this is
the area. I know the area.
Yeah, this is
pretty much,
if we reduce the area to the boundaries that we're talking about, it's not a whole, it's not a big group. So we
but
can
you have
talk,
to
we can
extend
literally
to Fourth, because if you stop
that's what I
that
think.
between 6th and 5th, you know
It'll
what's
go
going
on
to
to
happen.
4th.
They're going to park.
That's what
on the other
I
street.
thought. But the
and
feedback
it's
we had-
since it's Councilwoman Marie-Estime Yevin, you live in that's your district, that's your item.
Yes, the people voted for me. I believe I do represent District 3.
I thought
Thank you.
I always thought that's me.
Oh,
that's right.
You want to switch? Oh, thank you. Are you going to open the public hearing, or you want me to speak on
No,
it?
you can speak, and that after that we're gonna open it to the public,
No,
unless you wanna hear from the public first.
Please, because I have some residents.
Okay,
that
thank
are
you
in
very
support
much.
of that
Public
that would
hearing
like
is
to
open on
speak.
tab
Thank
K.
Edwin Alvarez. I'm at 555 Northeast 127th Street, and just wanted to express my support for this. I am the second house, one of the second houses in from Red, White, and Blue, and I can't tell you the atrocities of parking that happen on a daily basis, from the swales to people parking literally in my driveway. And I am one of the fortunate ones that has more than one parking, or allows for more than 1-2 spaces. But I also, when I first moved in, there was one of the people who got permissions to plant trees there to prevent the parking, and that helped a little bit. But I've had people literally park on the trees, on the flowers. And so that, in conjunction with, as you mentioned, Red, White, and Blue, and everything that comes from Red, White, and Blue, from trash and carts and everything else, I am fully in support for anything that helps with that. And I do want to ask you, when you say when Red, White, and Blue goes away, when is that?
Probably never.
I don't know if that, I don't know if you have a date, or if that's something that everyone should know, because
Did I
until
say
then,
that?
we're dealing with it.
Okay.
And again, I do want to say business is good, right? I'm not trying to say they should go out of business, but we also live there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. I'm actually very supportive of this. That's been a problem area in our neighborhood, especially when it comes to the swales. The parking, that's one of the most popular stores in North Miami. It makes a ton. It makes more than most of the shops downtown. But the parking is all over the place. It's outgrown that parking lot. And as he said, all of the swales are dead and derelict and compounded, and it's just a bad situation. I know the city has invested a lot of money into our neighborhood, and it's looking great, but that particular area has always sort of suffered behind the progress of the rest, and I think a lot of it does come from Red, White, and Blue and the problems with parking. And so if this is a viable solution, I'm all for it, and I can't wait to see if it makes an impact. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I have a point of privilege? I have another resident. Did you want to speak? Yes. Go ahead and speak, if you would allow me to have that. He lives actually on the block, so I want to give him an opportunity to speak. Please, thank you.
Good evening. It's my first time here. My name is Cesar Castaneda. I live in 550 Northeast 127th Street. And one of the neighborhoods affect to the people come to the business at the corner on a lift, and they parking on my yard every time. So I think I'm so happy if you approve this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you, City Manager. Thank you for coming up or helping us out with this ordinance. You know, as you've heard, the resident of that immediate area would like to have that, so I look for your support. We know that it's not perfect. We know we'll be dealing through some issues, but I just ask that my colleagues support this. Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you
ask a
very much.
question?
Yes.
Okay. Two questions on this one. So this one says, is parking by residential visitor parking permit only? On C, it says, no commercial vehicles without the permission of a resident or owner living in the area. How are we gonna know if they have permission? Someone goes in there and you,
Well, I mean, what that's meant to
That's
cover
kind of
is
how
if
code's gonna
FedEx
be.
comes to deliver a package to you, I mean, that you have to assume that that's permission. If there's a worker, doing plumbing work at your property, you have to assume there's permission. Otherwise, if it's a semi-truck parked there, then we're probably gonna assume that unless the owner said that semi-truck could park there, that it's not,
so
it's without
so
permission.
you've got some code enforcement
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
to
this,
make that-
we'll have to
so-
work through it.
Okay. One other question, just, it's okay however you want to do it. So on 127th Street, you are precluding this up to 6th Avenue. And you've got this piece of, I guess you have swale, I'm not sure. Maybe you don't have swales there, but I see cars parked between the red, white, and blue and between the church. And that's 127th, and that's, I guess, west of 6th Avenue. And it looks like an apartment building
In
there.
front, you're talking about 550. What happened? The
Um,
pink one.
No, I'm just looking at the street between red, white, and blue, which is just like the swales just north of red, white, and blue, and just south of where the church is.
Mhm.
So you have you have that street there.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm sorry, you,
No, what are you talking
So
about?
what I'm saying, and I'm looking
Wait,
at the,
wait,
I'm
no,
looking at the picture, and I do
no.
see is that cars. It looks like cars are parked there
Yeah, but on the church don't want people to park in front of the church.
Right.
on the side.
On the side, they don't want that.
Do they?
It's
do
parking
they?
in front of a gate.
So do they want
And the
resi-
church closed the gate.
Correct.
Okay. Do they want residents parked there with a permit?
No, it's only red, white, and blue people just for a few minutes.
Okay, on the street. You know, you,
I know.
Okay.
I'm the one that paved that area. We pave it. We pave it and put
So,
and some
but residents,
drainage in there.
But residents with, or their guests with parking permits could park there conceivably.
I think people temporary parking at that area is
I'm not
okay,
sure
huh?
exactly what kind of parking is there.
like in
so-
front of the church is okay, right?
right.
In front of the church.
Yeah, you have to give a point of privilege
Okay.
to.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind,
Okay.
because the picture I'm seeing, I see 3 cars in a row parked there, if you blow up the picture. So I don't know if that's parking or just traffic. I think it's parking.
And Mr. City Attorney, that's been it's from 6 to 4, right?
That's how it is.
So right now, it goes, if you look at the Exhibit A that's part of your package, right now, it goes all the way from Dixie to 4th.
What do you mean from Dixie?
If you look, it's along West Dixie, all the way to 4th. But the feedback we got was to leave out that part that's commercial, including the church, and start from 5th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in
start from
front of that
6th,
apartment.
Right, 6 to 4th.
Yeah, I agree
right.
with that.
So do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see that little space?
Yeah, that's
just
been-
west of 6 on 127th?
Yeah, that's place where we pave. We pave that street like in front of the church. People we allow people
park
to
there
park
now.
there. Yeah.
So people can park it on the
Yes.
swale?
Yes, at that area, it's paved.
Okay, so now we have.
Temporary parking.
Okay, but according to this ordinance, which is fine, I'm just trying to get clear. So it's saying that you can only park there if you are a resident and have.
That's
if
not
you're a
include
resident
that.
with a-
That's not include that area.
It is, because it's west, because you've got one, it says 127th Street between 4th and 6th. So that little place between.
You know, in
red,
front
white,
of the
and blue.
church, the problem we have in the church, we have those big trucks parking there for days, like in front of the church.
So nobody can park there now?
I think temporary people
I'm
come
just
in.
asking,
Let's bring it back for review in 6 months. If it's not working, we can fix it, but
Yeah.
otherwise we.
Well, it's a first reading, so if you want to look at it and
Yeah,
get it.
let's pass it like that, and then in 2 weeks you will come up with making sure you tell us
and
whether it's yes or
I'm
no
glad you
for
pointed
that
that
area.
out. It probably will not be at the next meeting. It'll probably be the April meeting because we have to give 14 days notice to all of the residents there. So we'll be sending a letter to every resident that these ordinances affect,
Okay.
so that they'll know with the letter in the mail. So it'll probably be the April meeting if this comes back.
Thank you very much. And if we're done with the conversation, can I hear a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Estimate Irvin to approve the item at tab K. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desame, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote on first reading.
Thank you.
Tab L, discussion item regarding the selection process for the city manager position.
Thank you very much. It's just a discussion item, and Personnel Director, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joe Roglieri, Personnel Director.
Yes, what do you got?
So, what I have is, this is your process. This is the time for you to discuss what you'd like to do. The only thing I would say is there's only one thing you can't do, and that's discuss it among yourselves. This is a sunshine item. It has to be discussed in the public in a forum just like this one.
Okay. And okay. How many applicants?
109.
109.
You've been provided with all the applicants via electronic means. You've had a chance to review them, if you chose to.
Okay, now we want to hear from council members how to move forward with 109 applicants, what we got to do. And let's go one by one. Let's start with Councilwoman Keys.
No, go the other way.
Hmm?
Start at that end. Start at
What?
She wants to hedge her bets.
I want to hear from you.
Okay.
Go ahead. I always, no, we always.
Fine, I don't care. I looked at all the applicants. Some were absolutely ridiculous, but I saw quite a few that were very good, and I saw a few more that were good. And so I think there's at least 20 people there that are worth taking a look at.
Okay.
So what we have to do, I guess, if that's what everybody wants to do, is form a committee. I would like your recommendation as to how we form a committee and who should be on it. I'd rather not residents be on it, but you need a committee to, I mean, some of the applications just absolutely don't meet the criteria, but with municipal experience, education, et cetera. So I don't think there's that many, and the committee will just look at it and then bring them back to us like we did the last time, and we'll interview and make a selection if we find someone we like.
That's it.
That's it.
Councilman Scott.
I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I've probably sat through every incarnation that's possible. If we've got 109 applications, staff, is there any way that you would suggest to winnow that down outside of a committee? Here's the thing. I'd like us to get a new manager as quickly as possible. And by appointing a committee, that means we need to have an open enrollment period and come back and we appoint, and they have to schedule meetings, and if they don't have quorum, that could go on. I'm worried about it going on for a long time. So professionally, is there any, I mean, we had some people who were literally cashiers at Walgreens who applied for this. And I'm not saying that to be funny. That's the scope of what we got here. Some that didn't even have high school degrees. Is there a way to professionally winnow it down to,
That's mean you are in agreement with Councilwoman Keys to bring it down to the most qualified people?
109 down to 10, and then we interview the 10. But it will be beastly if this council has to try to figure out how to winnow 109 down to 10.
it's easy. We're gonna eliminate all those people who doesn't meet the minimum requirement. That's what we do on every hiring. That's mean you did the first selection is to remove all those who doesn't meet the minimum requirement, and after that, you come up to a list, and maybe you try to shrink the list based on guideline.
Did we advertise a minimum requirement?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We did.
Then I would suggest then for future that
You don't even see
we don't have to see all the rest. We don't have to see the cashiers
Yeah.
at Walgreens and the swimming coaches and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to be funny, but it was stunning. I've sat
Yes.
through a
Yeah.
lot of these, and I've never seen a field as weak as this one was overall. And if you can then lop off 90% of them because they don't even meet the minimum requirement, I would suggest that should have been done before they were even given to us.
Don't mind seeing.
Can-
That's why we having the discussion, so we guide them on what to do. Now let's go to Councilwoman. You wanna go to
It's 3,
Councilman?
4, or you want to do it?
It's
up to
either
you.
whoever.
You let me go.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at my screen. I'm a little devastated, but anyhow, Joe, going to
Feel the
never
burn,
mind.
Alan. Feel the
Yeah,
burn. Feel the burn.
You wanna say what-
anyhow, I do like the idea where Councilman Galvin is going, but as well as I'm hearing the same echo as Councilwoman Keys. I would like it as soon as possible. I like that direction. And I don't know if Councilman Galvin, if that's feeling the burns or you just throwing some shades, because literally one of them kind of live in the same household who applied. So we have those applicants. However, going through the emails, remember, I think you sent me both links or one link, and I didn't know how to open the other one. I like the second badge, I guess the one that was emailed directly versus, but there's some from each one. I hear the number 10. Perhaps if we could, I'm just putting this out there. If you do that, I think you knock down probably 80% or 85% of them. The ones who currently have, either local government experience and the education, whatever that minimum education is, I think right there, or, those who've been in at least a city, either our side or larger, because I've seen some where the city is 4,000 people or 6,000 people, obviously, and their budget is $20 million, which is lower than a department. So I think if you put those kind of equation in, the higher than 60,000 residents and more than $150 million budget in current, in the last 5 or 10 years, however you determine what current is, must have some type of experience, either local, federal, local, county, whatever you want to determine that experience. I think you will knock down a large number from those.
Thank you. So basically, I want to did almost everything everyone says, with the exception that I think that as mayor and council, it's our duty to select. So I think especially if we want to expedite a city manager, that we should not have a committee. We should decide among ourselves and if we reduce it to the most qualified. So what I'm hearing from you, Vice Mayor, is that there is at least 5 years experience. Was that my understanding?
I'm saying whatever.
We advertised.
Yeah, whatever we advertise would be, but I guess the ones with current experience, because it's one thing if you were a city manager 20 years ago, or county or something, or work with the state, and not saying that if you retire you don't have the experience, but I think if we want to narrow down the list, you got to go by, the population of folks, the number of people that they served, and the number of budgets, the amount of money that they have managed. So I was just giving some guidelines. And I do have one question for you, Joe, but go ahead after you're done.
Actually, you made me forget.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You got your questions? There was, going through the list that you provided, the 109, there was 102, I don't know if it's by mistake, and maybe I'm not seeing it wrong, that's not on the list, but there's application for it. So I think it might have been because it was so nicely put together in alphabetically order. So there was one person, and I don't know if you want me to share it with you now or later. If there's two of them, I don't see the names here. that was, you know, I see the applications, but that's just, I guess that's just,
So you're saying that you got the application from us, but we didn't have them on the list?
no,
That's-
you sent me the two links, the one that came from our website and the one that came from email.
Okay.
You remember I asked you to give me a list of all the applicants, just the names, and so that's why I was just going by and kind of checking. There was probably two that were not
I
on
think
the.
we can talk off-site.
Okay,
But let me just
perfect.
make
I
sure
think that's
everybody
what it
understands
is.
what we're talking about and that the public also understands. We received applications via two mechanisms. They were either emailed directly to my employment and benefits manager, or they could use a NeoGov system and apply online. So that's what we're talking about, the two ways to apply.
Okay. So once this list is narrowed down, well, how long will it take? I would like to request that we get this list this week. So whatever the process is, so that if it's the will of my colleagues, that we can probably have that on our next council meeting, if that's the will
So
of the
I would
board.
say this, you could certainly get it by the next council meeting, but I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go to Cabo for my daughter's wedding, and I won't be able to work on it until I get back from there.
Are you the only person that can do this?
So I would expect that I would be one of the 2 or 3 people. I have 2 other people on my staff that I would do it along with, and we would like to come to consensus, so that 3 of us are coming to consensus on it. But I
Okay,
will
but,
certainly be back in time to get this
Yeah, but
before the next council
the
meeting.
thing is, we're gonna give direction to the department, then you will dispatch whatever you please. It's gonna be up to you.
I don't understand.
And,
I'm sorry, what do you mean, Mayor?
no, I'm talking to the director. Are we done?
Just
I think we are.
The direction now, from what I understand, that's mean you're gonna eliminate all the people who doesn't meet the minimum requirement. That would be the first thing.
So I'll reiterate what I understand the council's direction is that staff will evaluate all the applicants and bring forward those who meet the minimum qualifications as stated in the announcement.
No, we're gonna tell you, we're
Because
not
I
done yet.
Okay.
It's two steps.
Right.
You're gonna eliminate all those who doesn't meet the minimum requirement. And after that, based on the size of the city of North Miami.
Suggestion size, I think if we're trying to get to the 90, because or
What
that,
you mean to get to
no,
the
to
90?
get to the 90, eliminate to that 10%. You're gonna have to either
And
do it by,
they
you
propose
know,
20 people, the top 20
it may be
candidates.
less, or it may be more. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever that number might
That
be.
would be the average.
Yeah, whatever that number might be from the 109, but for you to get there, you have to give some more
The guideline is
criterias.
you got to know the size of the
Yeah.
city, you know, all those things, budget, managing budget, and what was the budget and all those things, experience, and to come up with a list of 20 people, the top 20 people, so we can choose at the next council meeting. I think the thing, what you got to do is to do that within a week, and then you give us the list for interview. Anybody want to interview, they can call for interview, and the 20, and then we can come up.
Is it phone or in person?
Whatever
or
you want, whatever
Skype?
you want to do, it's you.
Oh,
They give you the list, and if you want to do by phone, if you want them to set up appointments, it's up to you. From the list, if you want to interview all 20s, if you
If
want
I
to
could
interview
suggest
10s.
something at this point, once we come up with a shorter list, which is a list of those who seem to meet the qualifications that you've just espoused to me, that we then have another public hearing, and you discuss at that meeting whether you want to invite all of that group,
No.
or if you want to narrow it.
No, this is what we told you. First of all, you're going to eliminate those who doesn't meet the minimum qualification.
Okay.
And secondly, you're going to review the rest and see if you can come up with the top 20 candidates.
or less, right?
Yeah, up
Whatever.
20 or less. And then you're going to share it with us, and we decided who we want to call for interview. All 5 of us.
Okay.
And it will come at the next council meeting for a choice.
Can I clarify? So based on the criteria we set forth, let's just say out of the one, whatever that number is 20 or 30. Because looking at that list and reviewing some of them, it's going to be up there with, as far as in terms of them with, I don't know what the minimum requirement was, but if it's a bachelor, whatever the case is, but you have some with a lot of different experiences. So unless we really putting that cap where you could narrow it down, we're going to end up with 30 or maybe more. You don't think so? Okay. Then if what Woman Keys is saying, that's fine.
When you're going to put the size of the city, budget managing and all those things to be like in line with the city of North Miami, I think it's going to be around 20.
Is it only folks within the government experience, or?
Of course.
Okay.
So it did specify a department director level or above in the announcement.
Yeah, if they're director, they manage 100 and something million. Yeah, that would. I don't think it's like like Councilwoman Key said, it's that many once you put those criteria.
When you say the top 20 or less,
Yeah.
that's
let's let them.
Yeah.
The quicker you guys can move on this, the easier it'll be for us to
easier. I
figure
think.
out.
Yeah, I don't think 2 weeks
So-
is.
Question, so, are these, allowed to be posted online? Or is this private?
posted what?
All the
So
applications.
it's all public record.
It's all public
It's all
record?
public
All the
record.
application.
Can we post it online?
So
Why?
Post
there's
what?
exceptions to the public records law. If any of them were law enforcement before this, then we would not be posting a law enforcement officer's address. So it depends on their individual prior background. So there's certain exemptions to public records law.
So can we present,
So
I've had
here's-
several people ask me, who are these people? We need to get those things out.
I have a list
even
of
if it's
names.
redacted.
Certainly the names are all
Yes.
public record. Addresses
Yeah, that's
may
a little
not
bit-
be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned with, there's a lot of private information, I would like the
Yes.
names. The-
Names are all public record.
But Councilwoman, if we just were to put the names up, that won't
doesn't
mean
mean
anything
anything,
to
no.
anybody,
I mean,
right?
no, I
So
mean,
I think we should
That's
put
why I'm
the
asking,
full-
what can we actually put out? Or maybe someone should go
Yeah,
through
redact it for
and
those
redact
10
it and
people
do it.
that-
The list of 10 or all of them, Council.
I'm being asked for all of them.
All
I think
of
some
them?
people
May I-
don't believe me when I say
Can
there are
they-
Walgreens cashiers
can-
who applied.
Councilman
May I
Galvin,
suggest-
can those people email Joe, like the director? I'm sorry, and he could forward
Not-
the
not any
because
more
the
than-
file was so big. The link for it's one of them is 382 pages and one is 180 something. So you got 500 pages.
Do we have any,
Yeah.
did we have any law enforcement? I don't remember if we had.
I
That's
didn't look
so
at the
one.
qualifications.
Reading through one of them, I could think of who said they were.
If we
somewhere.
could redact, I don't think it would be,
May I suggest?
Yeah, but the discussion
the
after,
person
when
with
it
just a
comes
high school education, no law enforcement.
for public records, after that we can decide it, what we're going to consider public record. The department can put it out, but the direction that we are giving you is to eliminate whoever doesn't meet the minimum requirement, and secondly, if you can shrink the list to the top 20 or less.
Okay.
And make it available for us to do interview next week.
So
we
this
can-
will be much more easy to facilitate sending to you because the file will be smaller.
Yes, and then we will have it by Monday, and then we have a week for interview, and we put it on the agenda.
You're not gonna interview in the next week.
Yeah.
Not with what's going on in our country.
What do you mean? We're gonna by
People
the
are not
next council,
traveling,
I
you know.
think
we're
it's-
gonna do it
Right.
over the phone or Skype or whatever it is.
But if we're going to legitimate, and I'll go with it if you want to do it in 2 weeks, but I don't think we'll legitimately be able to corral 20
he
different
says-
people for,
From
5
across the
different
country,
phone
yeah.
interviews.
So
from
We
across-
doesn't.
by
No,
April,
we're gonna.
by the first
We're
week of
gonna give
April?
everybody the file. You can decide it to interview 5 of them or 6 of them. You doesn't have to conduct interview on
No,
all
but,
20.
Mr. Mayor, if they want to interview all of them, or at least all of them, so perhaps the next, with your professional experience, if you put
Alex, if you tell them this is what you want, that's
no,
it.
I know, but I'm saying just schedule-wise, if he does put it out this week. That's not the
What if
debating
you need to
question.
put down?
I'm saying if you give us the names this week or whenever, we would need at least a week or a week and a half to kind of do the interview or have somebody from the office. So perhaps maybe the next one, we won't have everything together, but definitely I think we should shoot for maybe perhaps the first week of whatever that council meeting is, April. Would that be, yeah, that would be reasonable, the first week, because we got 3 weeks to interview. If somebody want to come in, you know, whatever the case is, and who knows if we're going to have a meeting the next
We're
week.
talking serious.
Well,
you
this is serious.
You still have to making sure we're here to,
Yes.
to give the police gasoline and to put chlorine in the water and
well,
the water plant. That's when we got to find.
My-
We're
my-
not from a third world country. We have to be here, whatever it is. We cannot
Okay.
say.
No, my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, is with what Councilman Galvin said, that the personnel department give us the short list of whatever, I think you say 20, by this week, and then we take the
20 or
next
less.
week.
What about if they give
Whatever.
you 3 people from
No,
the list?
then it's 3 people. Then
That's what we said. We give them a week to do that. They're gonna give us the list, and we're gonna decide who we wanna interview.
it's just the time frame that's a little bit short by next week. And I think
To
we
give
all
you the list?
No, not the list. The list, I think he said he could do, despite him being out by this week. That's not the problem. It's the interview you said you want to do.
When you have the
interview and
list, you
everything.
can choose to do whatever you want. If you wanna do an
No,
interview or
when do you want to
20s,
decide though on
next
the
council meeting?
That's
I
that's
think
what I
that's
think.
a little too aggressive. I
Perhaps
think
the first week of April.
You've been there, how long been having that? It's
if you've already decided who
3
you
months,
want,
it's
that's
90
one
days.
thing. But I don't think that we can actually interview everybody else and get them lined up.
You don't have to interview everybody.
I've done, this will be my 11th manager.
Oh
I
my
hate that I
God.
have to keep saying stuff like that, but I don't see us being able to, even if it's down to 5 people
Okay,
and
can-
all 5 of them, to be able to do all that within 2
Okay,
weeks.
the direction is to give us the list by, a small list by next week on Monday. Thank
We
you.
can do that. We can do
Thank
that.
you very much, sir. Thank you.
So we agreed the first week of the first council
No,
meeting
we're
in
gonna have
April.
we're gonna have the list by next week.
By
You will
March.
decide what you wanna do with it. Thank you very much, and where
No,
we
but-
at?
Okay, are we done with that discussion?
When you have it, you decide what you wanna do
Yeah,
with
I
it.
know, but Mr. Manager, I don't want us to come in here the next meeting assuming that we do, we are gonna do something. If we're gonna do it, we saying, let's do it in the first week of April, which will give us
What first
enough
week of
time.
April? There's
Whatever
no
that
council
meeting is,
meeting the
isn't
first
there?
week of April.
What's the first, what's the
Second
first
Tuesday.
meeting?
Second Tuesday, April.
14,
Yeah.
April
Or April
14.
14th, is that April? That's
April
be-
14th.
before tax day, so that's a good day.
It's gonna be
to-
it's gonna be Easter.
Oh, is it Easter?
Yeah.
Easter
Okay.
Sunday, the week before?
Easter.
Okay, that's just my
April is
recommendation.
Easter.
Okay, however we decide.
Thank you. We're gonna have the list by Monday, and so you can discuss with the manager what you wanna do with it. And right, we're gonna open citizen forum. Citizen forum is now open. Thank you.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm going to just ramble through a few things. First, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the Saudis are pumping more oil in order to get back at the Russians and the American shale oil. That has brought the price of oil down about 1/3 of what it was per barrel. That's bringing the prices down, leading to our city. If our city has the capacity, if we have the fuel tank capacity, we should stockpile fuel during the next few months. Not tomorrow or next week, but it will be going down. Will go down for a number of months as they continue this. Next thing is the stock market. Our own particular area, North Miami, is very vulnerable to the current contagion. We're a tourist industry city. We have cruise ships, we have hotels, restaurants, flights coming in and out, and the like, sporting events, other major events like Ultra being canceled. That's going to affect our local economy. It's going to affect us pretty big. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that'll be taken out of the economy. This is, the virus will go away at some point. It's not going away soon. It's going to get worse before it gets better. My point before that I was trying to make was that it's really bizarre that we do not bring more attention to this. It did not start in Italy. It started in China. somebody, a single person or one or two people in Italy had it, and all of a sudden it became a major event. All it took was a few people, it becomes a major event. Why don't we use that as an example and do lockdown here, more measures? We should probably limit our council meetings. We should probably be doing this by call-ins so that you guys stay safe, but maybe we keep us out. So it's really something that we should consider. And also, it's the seniors that are pretty much most vulnerable. And if I may say, the seniors...
You have to have an in-person quorum under state law.
They might build it. But let me point out that maybe it's not being taken so seriously because the seniors are most vulnerable. Who costs the most to our society? Seniors. Wouldn't it be convenient to let them all die out, or however many we can, 1 out of 5 when they get it? Wouldn't that be convenient? And for those who are laughing, let me point out, the CDC made a recommendation this week, 2 days ago. CDC, a neutral organization, made the recommendation to have a travel advisory for seniors, that seniors should not travel. What happened to that advisory? Did you hear it? That advisory was canceled by the White House. The White House took a political action so that other people could, in fact, get harmed. It's something to think about and to wake up about. Now, I was wondering why you were upset before when I said, and I used the quote, stable genius, and I was wondering why you were upset, because I was using a quote, and I quoted it wrong. It's President Very Stable Genius, so I apologize for forgetting the very. But President Very Stable Genius has our back, and we'll soon have many people in the grave. We need to look out for ourselves. Everybody will have it, every Publix, every Costco, every meeting. At some point, there'll be somebody contaminated in this hearing room. Keep it in mind. Thank you.
I don't know if we could follow that.
Public hearing is now. Public hearing is.
Can I just want to say something. I don't know who you're referring to, but I've been hearing the administration, they did, in fact, they're the one who said don't travel. I heard it myself from the vice president regarding if you're senior, their advice is not to travel. So that part I'm hearing.
Look for the CDC statement.
Oh, okay, well, that's a whole different. Oh, okay.
Okay. Hello. Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. For this comment, I'm just representing the coalition of the homeowners associations in the city of North Miami. What we're presenting is a letter of dissatisfaction and a sort of no confidence in our park and rec director. We want to show on record a support for the North Miami Jaguars. We're very disappointed in the situation, and we want to make it clear that this situation does not reflect the spirit of the community of North Miami. We're asking our acting city manager to take our community's opinion into consideration and act in such a way which is in keeping with the spirit of the community. And we would like to express our support for the Optimist team, and we look forward to a new era in the Parks and Recs as a unified city of homeowners association. So thank you very much.
Okay, Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. I'm here representing the North Miami Parks and Rec Board, and I'll just read the letter that we also would like to present to Mayor and Council and the City Manager. It just says, we, members of the Parks and Rec Board, find it important that we issue a public statement. It has not escaped our attention that the director of our Parks and Recreation Department is under an ethics investigation now being managed by the county. We're thankful the process is being carried out by an independent party and expect the results of that investigation will determine the city's next course of action. Our city's park system is our crown jewel. the places where young and old gather, where our community is created. As one board member put it so well, the citizens of North Miami deserve someone who is beyond reproach. Looking forward to a day in the near future where positive things about our city's parks are in the news. Thank you.
Spirit fingers.
Public hearing is now closed. Season 4 is now closed since there is nobody show up. Thank
Okay, thank you.
Yes, reports.
Yes, two things. One, would like to invite everybody to our outside Getting Gear bike ride Saturday morning. Should be a nice ride. We're all not in close proximity. Our new juice restaurant, Guarapo, is going to be one of our sponsors. And Solomea is planning a nice stop for us also to see and show off the new lagoon and property. So I hope you'll all join us. I think it'll be a nice, safe place that we can have a nice ride Saturday morning. Hope to see you. On the second note, I would like to thank staff and Mayor, Councilman Galvin, for all the participation and work our city has done with regard to the coronavirus. Our city is, I think it's been amazing. We're all really taking it seriously. The place is clean, the hand sanitizers, staff, everybody is very aware, and we are doing our best. We're being proactive to make sure that our employees stay safe and we don't transmit anything. And I think it will get worse before it gets better. But I think staff is really taking it seriously. Our mayor and manager went to the county Mayor Jimenez's special meeting. Commander Brinson with the emergency management, and Natasha, you're getting information out to the citizens, and very valuable. Last week, a lot of good blasts came. Our website, our Facebook, a lot of good information. Please keep it coming, and I've requested that we have a link on our website right at the top, so anybody can just go to our website. I'm hoping it's instituted sooner than later. Just hit a button, links to all the different things. So thank you. I think our city's really doing a good job with that.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Nothing about coronavirus.
No. We've spent a lot of time on it.
Councilwoman Maristime Yuve. You three. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, yeah, but I have no issues. Good evening, everyone. This is in reference to the census. We're counting on you. My colleagues and I have mentioned throughout 2019, 2020 that the census is important, and when you respond, you help our community generate resources to serve our daily needs. Throughout our advocacy, we've mentioned that documents will be coming to your home this year, and the time has come now. So March 12th, you should be receiving questionnaires to fill out for the census. And if you have any questions or need assistance in our city, has prepared multiple locations, of course, in District 3, and Griffin Center is one of them. And there'll be toll-free numbers, information in English, Spanish, and all. So we are counting on you to really participate and encourage your neighbors and everyone to participate. Also, I want to wish all of the women and other men that support the women a happy Women's History Month. I salute all women, young and wise. We are all tall, we are all short, we are round, we are slim, we are intelligent, we are dynamic, we are bilingual, we are daughters, sisters, wives, aunts, mothers, and grandmothers. We are professional caregivers, head of household, and we are fierce. So I thank you, women.
You didn't say they are wife.
And I guess we're wise, right? Okay, also, I would like, we're March 31st, we're having a Women's Empowerment Network, and it's going to be held at FIU Biscayne Park on the campus of Chaplain School of Hospitality. For more information, you can email District 3 at northmiami.gov. You probably received an email with information as well on that. Mr. Mayor, talk about coronavirus. I would be remiss if I did not speak about the coronavirus. Residents, please be calm but vigilant. Take notes on the public on the health guidance, washing your hands, covering your mouth, just like the health officials mentioned. And, you know, just use sanitizers and just pay attention to the notices that we are getting from the county that we will be providing to you. And that's all. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield back. Oh, I'm so sorry. Happy belated International Women's Day as well. It was over the weekend, so I just wanted to say that on record.
Quick question, Mr. Manager, in reference to, well, Mr. Attorney, can I ask a question in reference to the two letters that was giving? Since it's, I just want to ask, what is that process? Based on where are we now? Is it administrative leave in reference to the individual in the letter?
In aspect to the letter and the situation, Mr. Derek Walker's been placed on administrative leave, and we also, the day after the council meeting, I submitted all the documents and everything from North Miami Police to the Miami-Dade Ethics Committee. I did speak with the director, Mr. Rosso, I believe it is. Spoke with him, and he told me it'll probably, be somewhere between a month, maybe a month and a half before they would get back with us with the answer in the investigation. But we helped. It will be sped up because we did give them all of the documentation we already had accumulated.
Okay. I had another question, but that was in reference to something else, and I totally forgot. Thank you all, and happy Women's Day, which was March 8th, to all the international, yes, which was this the 10th, so 2 days ago. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, and Madam Clerk, your report.
So continuing the theme of Women's History Month, I think that we have to remember that we are not only honoring the women that are in our lives today or who have been in our lives, but we are honoring what women have done historically. And I think it's a reminder for women to also be reminded about living to their fullest potential. But we also need to be reminded of the fact that we continue the fight for equity. And with that being said, I think that it's extremely important not only to honor the women, but to honor the men who are constantly at the forefront of those fights with us. We are at the forefront of fights for domestic violence.
You need to order me.
Against sexual violence and against a series of other things. And so I highly encourage us to continue that fight and ensuring that equity is provided to women all over, regardless of their stature and their status in life. In addition, I'm really sad that I can't talk about passports and taking trips, because that's what, just gonna say that Barbados, Namibia, Cote d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast and Kenya does not have Corona, but can't get on planes. And so I'll give you reasons to get a US passport even if you're not traveling. So it serves as a legal ID or a valid ID. You can use it for employment verification, proof of citizenship. And since we're all getting masters in public health with this whole Corona scare, we can use it to enroll in school again. I want to remind everybody that we have the presidential preference primaries taking place right now. Early voting has already begun in the library. This week we're open until 7, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Over the weekend it'll be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And election day will be March 17th, 7 to 7 in your precinct. So early voting has already started at the library, and you'll be able to vote in your precincts on March 17th. But if you remember anything about anything I've said today, respect the women, wash your hands, and vote. And that's it. My report is over.
Your city attorney report?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, in reference to, because I see them in the audience, did we finalize that, the Little League contract or the, whatever?
I know you're referring to the contract with the Jaguars, the
Yeah,
Optimus
the
football.
Jaguars.
We did present them with a contract to move forward. I believe they have a board meeting on March 12th, and they're going to review it with the board and then get back with me on the contract, but everything's been submitted.
Thank you.
What has been changed from the previous contract to that new one?
Technically nothing. One of the major changes is the equipment and the uniforms that we did help them buy. The past contract said that the uniforms and equipment belonged to the city. I think it was something that was in one of the previous contracts, so that was removed out because I know that was grant funded stuff. We considered that as grants given to them, so that language was removed. That's it. I did. That's all that was removed. There were some other things that.
Now they're gonna start receiving that $8,000 that was canceled for
Yes.
about 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Because last year I had to take money from my discretionary to pay
Yes,
for
sir.
uniforms.
You too?
For the cheerleading.
No, I did football.
Can we, one of the suggestions, I think someone up here made it, in the interim, I don't know when they will sign the contract, can we move their, and I don't know if that's an insert or something that could go in the contract, that they go under either the police department or some other department for this. Is that something that could be done?
The manager of the you're referring to the manager of the contract, of the contract with the Optimus program?
Yeah, whoever they have to deal with.
The contract the items listed in the contract were in the wrong department anyway. That should be going under our contract compliance department.
Okay.
So that it will be in the contract compliance department, work with the attorney's office on drafting the new contract. They will be the ones reviewing it moving forward.
No, but who would they be reporting if they need the uniform? And the reason that I mentioned the police department is because, and Chief, I'm not trying to get you more work, is because I know they have a PAL program, that does youth stuff or related stuff in the, whatever the case is. That was my only reason, It is a park activity, but I wouldn't suggest that it go back to that department.
If there's a problem, we shut down the department. But that's
No, you
we
can't
need
shut
to
down.
bring the right people to manage the department. That's Park and Rec. We got to make sure Park and Rec and the right department that's why we hire managers to fix problems. If there's a problem at Park Department, you fix the problem and then making sure the organization is under Park and Recreation Department. If you have to fire people, you fire people and put the right people in place. That's what we got to do. We cannot have the kids suffer for people on top of that who's having some big checks and things like that. That's what I think. Mr. City Manager, your report.
Yes, I know I sent out email correspondence to everyone, and also talked to everyone about the sale of the closing of the Solomia property. The money is in escrow. The word that we did receive is that it went through today, so we should recognize it in the morning. Also, the close of the local preference office, that money we have received. And so those two are done. I'm anticipating.
It's two things. How much money did you receive for Solomia?
For Solomia, we had received approximately $10.7 million.
10.7, that represents the sale of the 20 acres and the 2.7 rent participation.
Yes, sir. And
how much did you receive for
the local preference?
For housing.
For housing, $666,000.
Okay, and that money got to go toward affordable housing only. That's what we stated clearly in the contract, and I think it's either we use that money to build, maybe if that's a desire of the council, and if we can get land acquisition and to build affordable housing, that's where we're gonna go. As a matter of fact, there is a resident who already called me about a piece of land available for sale in the city. If we can do that, so we can build affordable housing instead of take the money and spend it on things that we're not gonna see. It's better to buy assets. So I'm not talking about the $10.7 million. That's what I'm talking. I'm talking about the 600,000 for affordable housing. The 10.7. That's not what I'm talking about. I see Councilwoman Estime Evans is looking at me. It seems like I'm telling you what to do with the money. That's not what I'm doing. It's only, as a matter of fact, the 10.7 is not even enough to balance and bring us on the green side of the financial situation. That's been, but the $660,000 is for to buy assets so we can, in case when we need it, because the way we see things and Privatel kind of, we are more worried about a financial crisis than coronavirus, because every day we have kids dying for basic need. That's when we don't have to worry. We got to worry about those kids more than just the coronavirus. The coronavirus is gonna come and gonna go. Another one gonna come and gonna go. Another one gonna come and gonna go. That's a part of life. We have to deal with it, but we need to take care of those people in need, and especially Mr. Manager. And if you can revisit the senior program to making sure they have everything. And so we can do that additional cleaning every minute, every hour, so we don't want any issue with that. And those aftercare program in the city, and we need to take in care. And coronavirus is going to take in care of himself.
Also, Mayor, if I may, I know we will. I'm anticipating us coming back to the board at the next meeting in regards to the Oaks. That's the census. Don't. Oh, I'll talk about that as well.
Yeah.
I'm awaiting my second appraisal for the Oaks, and I should have that by the end of this week, and I will have conversations with you all on how we move forward with that. Census 2020 ballots.
But when you have both appraisal, I think you need to turn it to the advisors, that financial advisor, making sure everything is okay. So when we're gonna come, we can have a complete presentation. So, and you can tell the resident how did you get to that number, and and I think that would be good when you come with it. And after that, we will decide what we're gonna do with the money. As a matter of fact, that money should go to a separate account. And as far, I heard something, and okay, I'll talk about the next.
Also, Census 2020, just to inform everybody that the ballots will start, not the ballots, but your questionnaire postcard, with your number to log in on the computer, should start being delivered on Thursday, I believe it is, on March 12th. So keep an eye out for your census postcard in the mail. If you don't have computer access, we will have computers available. We have 2 computers in the lobby in the customer service center. We have computers in all of the community centers and in the library that are specific for filling out the census. We have all of the information. We have sample questionnaires on our website. We do have a census link on our website that you can get all of the census information and get yourself prepared, or if you have questions filling it out. And I believe we do have a hotline number for the census on our website. I'm not sure about that one.
But for whoever can do it on their own, when they receive it, they can fill it and send it. They don't have to wait for April 1st. That's the first thing.
And Mr. Manager, you haven't mentioned, I did meet with, I guess, Ms. Somner and Francisco in reference to our census strategy. And I think your office, or they supposed to let us know if we're gonna need additional funding that us here as a council could, because I think they switched the way they count this year. It's gonna be harder. It's not in, it's only in some languages, very limited, and they could only call or go online to fill it out. So that means that North Miami, that 59,000, we may not even be an entitlement city if we don't take it seriously. So we got to look at that very easily. Yeah, that's it. I just learned that today when I was doing the infomercial, whatever that we were doing. They could only either call or they could go online. That's it. So if you don't,
What do you mean?
Make sure you specify. If you so for Haitian Creole,
No.
it's good.
they have it in Spanish
And in
English. And then for you to respond, in order for you to actually respond once you get that paper, either you have to call a number, which they have, I think, 13 different languages, or which half of the residents or anywhere Miami-Dade, not or in the state of Florida, not calling, or you have to go online, which is a challenge for our seniors. So we're going to rely on the homeowners and everyone else. How do we get that information out to make sure? Because first of all, I don't even believe they're going to be sending out the numbers, whatever that code is. That's just my feeling. So we just have to be vigilant. We have to be careful. I know some people kind of look like, what do you mean the census is not? No, their goal is not for us to be counted. It's we need to make sure that we count everybody and we let the community know that it's important. So we got to do what we got to do next month to get the word out, to let these folks know it's important.
Start on the 12th.
I'm saying April 1st,
Because
whenever
if you don't do that, people are going to take the card and they're going to throw it in the garbage.
for those who do receive the cards. So
They said between the 12 and the 20.
Everybody?
That's what they said.
Okay. Well,
That's what they said.
I'll be the first one if I get a card. I'll let y'all know.
No, they sent us a map 2 months ago, and I signed and I sent it back about the boundary of the city and people and where they're gonna be receiving it. I said between the 12 and the 20.
Because I know if they don't receive it, they could
90
call
Yeah.
to get the number and then to respond to it. Those steps. So we got to be mindful. Okay.
Move to
Okay.
adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
That's
All,
too late. I
all
think we all got
opposed?
it. Go on, go. What happened? You didn't